GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup, kicks off this weekend. We're in the UK. We're in the sunshine, we're at Brands Hatch, and it's the fabulous Grand Prix circuit on which the teams will kick off the season with two one-hour races. We have a 30-strong grid. We've got 14 drivers new to Sprint Cup, and they're all wide-eyed about this fantastic circuit that used to play host to the British Grand Prix. It's an old-school circuit. It's a really challenging circuit. Make a mistake around here, and it will bite. The races, of course, have mandatory pit stops, and in qualifying yesterday, the teams really did have to be on their toes to make sure they got the cars out in clear track space. Qualifying is vital. And in Pro, Mercedes looking good for good, strong results this weekend, such as the Boutsen VDS car number 9, driven by Maxime Martin.
So for sure, my expectations for this weekend is to try to be on top. We are here to compete. We are here to try to win races. We had a difficult start in Paul Ricard, but like I say, it's the first race in the sprint series, so all new. So the focus is to be on the podium.
Ferraris looked really good yesterday across all sessions, and the Emile Frey racing car of Ben Green, one to watch.
I absolutely love driving Brands Hatch. You really feel the elevation change through turn 1, and driving on the GP circuit is quite a rare occurrence. We only get to drive on it once or twice a year, so it's a real great pleasure, especially in the Ferrari. It's a track I've had a lot of success before, and I've really enjoyed being with my teammate Consta Lapalainen. We come back here together after finishing third in the championship last year with an ambition to do even better this year.
WRT has had 7 wins at Brands Hatch in Audi and BMW iterations. Struggling for pace yesterday, though, was Charles Weerts.
Expectations are definitely running quite high after we won this championship for 3 times already. We know every race is extremely important. We cannot allow one single bad weekend, so we have to start off straight away in the right window. Indeed, Dries is now driving more in the MDH and has therefore less time for GT, but I'm very lucky that I've got Kelvin taking his place, which I know is an incredible driver, very, very fast, very reliable also, and with whom I have a great relationship too. So hopefully together we can have a great season.
12 months ago, Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel won at Brands Hatch. They went on to win the Sprint Cup Championship and the overall title as well. What can they do here this weekend for Mercedes AMG?
So I'm very happy to be back in Brands Hatch. Last year we had a super successful weekend here, starting straight away with a win. And especially also coming from Paul Ricard, we're starting the GT World Challenge Championship with a P4. It was a great start. But now I'm really looking forward to Brands Hatch. I think we have a nice weather, we have a supercar, and I'm looking forward to tackle this track with Mauro.
It's really good to see Barwell in Sprint Cup and with a car in the Pro category. Hugo Cook will share it with Lamborghini factory driver Sandy Mitchell.
Brands Hatch is a great old school circuit. There's loads of fast corners, especially the GP loop. It's almost like going back in time once you turn left going through Surtees. So yeah, I think a lot of drivers come over from Europe and really enjoy the circuit. So yeah, qualifying's really intense. You know, hot lapping around here for 4 or 5 laps as fast as you can yeah, it's impressive if you can be up the front. So we'll see what we can do.
McLaren's went well at Paul Ricard in the Endurance Cup opener. Brands Hatch and Sprint rather different. Keep an eye though on Adam Smalling.
Yeah, it's nice to be a British driver in a British car with a British team at a British circuit in the sunshine. Yeah, what better of a weekend. So first sort of season in GT World Challenge Sprint. I did Endurance last year with Garage 59, so I know how the team operate. We were here last year also for British GT, so the track is familiar to me. I mean, you'd hope so with me being British, but it's a track that I really enjoy. I won here in junior categories like Ginetta Juniors, the GT4 Super Cup, and also Carrera Cup. So yeah, it's a track that has a good place in my heart, let's say, where I've won a few championships. So yeah, hopefully this weekend we can have a good one. And yeah, bring it on.
Chris Lulham has come from some circuit racing background, but mainly esports, in which he's been a real star. And in qualifying yesterday, he was outstanding to go second.
We had our debut at Paul Ricard a few weeks ago, finished second in the gold class, being 9 overall. So no, it was very solid. The team did a good job there. But now we come to the first round of the Sprint Cup, where we aim to be fighting again at the front. Well, we hope so. I think we should be. The car's looking good, and it was competitive last year. But it's my first time on the Brands GP loop, which is definitely an unforgiving track with a lot of history. Coming from the world of sim racing, this is going to be a big step, and I'm looking forward to getting started.
British driver James Kell is another man to watch in a McLaren, but for the French CSA racing team. And he was another driver that went really well in the Endurance Cup opener at Paul Ricard, and he's looking for points here this weekend.
first time really competing in sprint for me, just a one-off round as the car is a bronze entry for the rest of the year. But I'm excited to see what we can do as a team. New car for the team as well this year, moving from Audi to McLaren, and myself moving to the team. Been progressing throughout the last few years in GT World Challenge Endurance. We're in 2023 moving from Volkenhorst to Get Speed last year, bronze to silver, and now in gold class. And we had a successful Paul Ricard last weekend out as well with endurance, with a win, and hopefully we can carry that forward into this weekend and see how we do.
The Silver Cup caters for silver-graded drivers. In other words, the GT stars of the future. And Jeff Machiels is back for another season aboard a Ferrari 296 GT3 and should go well here this weekend.
Very excited to be back here in Brands, together with my new teammate as well. We had some nice testings here in Brands with Radical to know the track a little bit, because we don't have much experience. It will be my second time only here, even the second time racing in the UK. But I like it to be here because of the people around the track. It's super nice because it feels like the racing is inside their blood. They come to support us, and it's really nice to see all the fans being excited that we are here. So I really love it to be here with my new teammate. I'm very excited to see what we can do.
And for the Rutronic Racing Porsche team, another of the newcomers, Isham Pires makes his Sprint Cup debut, his European racing debut in the Porsche 911 GT3R.
So it's my first full season in Europe, it's my first time here in the UK, it's also my first time here racing at Brands Hatch. So this track is actually a little bit special to me. My dad was here many years ago. He used to race here in Austin Healey Sprite, so this track is quite sentimental for me. I'm really looking forward to taking on the weekend. It's a new team, and all the tracks this year will be new with GT World Challenge, but really excited.
The grid here at Brands Hatch will be getting very busy indeed. Now cars making their way into position. They have had the lap round from the pit lane. The build-up begins, and then we look forward to the first 1 hour race of the Sprint Cup season. The next stop, incidentally, in 2 weeks' time at Zandvoort. So if you enjoy what you watch today, then do come and join us, because Zandvoort's another cracking circuit, and 2 1 hour sprint races there in 2 weeks' time by the seaside. Big crowd here as well, which is great to see. Busy bank holiday weekend of not just motorsport, but all sorts of activities across the UK. But the fans have been here from very early doors this morning. The South Bank has been getting busier and busier all around the Indy circuit, plus quite a few out on the Grand Prix loop as well. Cameras trained, and the GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup, I think, is going to be set for an absolutely storming start when we go racing in just a short while. Don't forget that Sprint Cup forms part of GT World Challenge Europe, as does the Endurance Cup, and that kicked off at Paul Ricard in early April. It was a monster grid of 59 cars and a 6-hour race as well. We had 10 different brands represented on the grid, and it had been Mercedes-AMG that took pole position. It was the Mercedes from pole that led early on, but with battles raging further down and 1 or 2 of the midfield runners in strife, gradually the lead battle evolved to be Porsche versus Lamborghini. The Mercedes-AMG fell back a little bit, but after the first round of pit stops and darkness started to descend upon the circuit, it was Team WRT's BMW that was starting to look the stronger car. The Porsches, and indeed the Mercedes-AMG, a little bit breathless in comparison. So through it all came those masters of endurance racing, Team WRT, and the new driver combination of Charles Weerts, Hugo de Wilde and Kelvin van der Linde, triumphing in the first race of the season. With it being a 6-hour race, there were more points on offer as well, and that has teed up the squad really nicely in the Endurance Cup Championship. Now, GT World Challenge Europe joins World Challenge in America, Australia and Asia as part of that global GT World Challenge, where the manufacturers score points across all of those different regions. In Asia, for example, we have Porsche and Corvette winning first time out. In Australia, there have been successes for Audi and Ferrari, while in the USA, it was Mercedes and BMW victorious at Sonoma. And when the series moved to COTA in Texas, the racing was as fierce as you will find anywhere around the globe. It was a Corvette win in race 1. Mercedes triumphed in race 2, but there were some fabulous battles along the way. in America, in Australia, in Asia, just as in Europe. The grids are strong, the racing is fantastic, and there's a great representation of the different brands in GT3 racing. And that's certainly proving that GT World Challenge is set for a really strong and competitive season. And just to illustrate that GT World Challenge never sleeps, there's been racing already this weekend in Australia. And there, a second win of the season for Ferrari. Jackson Evans and Elliott Schutter taking honours in Sydney. And of course, it was a race under the floodlights, making that special magic of nighttime sports car racing even more pronounced. We've got a Ferrari on pole position here in Europe for race 1. Ferrari celebrating a win in Australia. In other words, this could be a really good weekend for the prancing horse to gain huge numbers of points for that global competition for the manufacturers in GT World Challenge. A great start to the weekend for Ferrari. Indeed, it's been a great start to the year for GT3 racing across the globe in GT World Challenge. And so if you take the points from Australia's first race overnight, it is Mercedes-AMG ahead in the Manufacturer Cup in GT World Challenge from BMW M. Porsche third, Ferrari fourth. That could change today. They could gain bagfuls of points. Audi fifth. Mercedes-AMG then ahead, but it's not a massive margin, and BMW you rule out at your peril. So the Maserati lead car will dive for the pit lane. Thierry Vermeulen, number 69, the very Ferrari liveried red AF Corsa example of Alessio Rivera on the outside. Marvin Kirchhoff as McLaren starting third, Arthur Leclerc starting fourth in the second of the AF Corsa Francorchamps Motors cars. But here at Brands Hatch, race 1 of the season in GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. Sprint Cup is about to get underway. They come up towards the lights, which go green. We go racing. A good start by Vermeulen, and Kirchhoff is on his toes, trying to squeeze up the inside, and he goes second. Then a bit of a rub with Rivera. Also, Lucas Aura's made a good start in the Mercedes-AMG from the third row. Are they all going to get through paddock safely? Yes, they are. Vermeulen leading. Kirchhoff is second. Third looks like being Rivera. Ben Green has made a good getaway, and as you look back from the Ferrari coming out of Druids for the first time, it's a really crowded house behind.
Yeah, Kirchhoff has got up to second as well now, so he's done an amazing job. Both AF course cars losing positions. You can see the WRT car there. Charles Vert's getting bounced out. It's also been a good start by Hartog in that second of the Porsches there for Runic, as we go on board with Hugo Cook. That's Charles Vert's in front, 2 Runic Porsches in front of that. You can see the straight line performance of the BMW there as they still dive for position, but great start from Kirchhoff to get up to second place.
Absolutely right. He's not done yet, of course. He's going after Vermeulen. He also leads his class because he's in Pro, whereas the leading Ferrari is in Gold. You're on board now with the Mustang, Yusufa Vega threading his way out of Hawthorns towards Westfield. The leaders are coming up through Sheen Curve for the first time, then go right. Use the curb on the inside, then you go left at Stirling's, that banked corner tilts you to the left, and then it's back on the power. Pull the car out the other side and come down towards Clearways. Look, Hartog up into 9th place. It was a good first lap. He's gained 6 places. So has Marcus Siebert in number 52 Ferrari. A little bit further back in the queue. But look at the gap at the end of lap 1 that Vermeulen has got already. Through he comes ahead of Marvin Kirchhoff a second. In 3rd place, it is Alessio Rivera. Ben Green is 4th. He's been on the move. So Arthur Leclerc goes through 5th ahead of Adam Smalley. Down to 7th, though. Lucas Aura seemed to be good into paddock, but got roughed up on the opening lap. Muller is 8th. Hartog, his teammate, 9th. And Charles Wirtz has gone backwards. He's 10th.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well by Al, because he was on the inside row, so the car directly in front of him, was Kirchhoff, who, like we said, is in second. So Al got squeezed and had to get out the throttle and lost momentum in that way. But what a start from Vermeulen in the lead, 1.1 seconds ahead by the end of the first lap. I saw him working those tyres super hard. He did a big burnout off the line as well to get heat in that car, and I think that is paying dividends now. Is that going to hurt him towards the end of the stint? Is he going to overwork those tyres? Let's see.
At the moment, Vermeulen leads overall and leads gold. Leading pro is Kirchhoff for 2nd overall. The leading silver is Lurk Hartog in the 2nd of those Rutronic Racing Porsches, and Hartog is in 9th place overall as the leaders drop downhill out of Westfield, climb the other side through Dingledale into Sheen Curve. Vermeulen trying to build that gap over Marvin Kirchhoff. Alessio Rivera 3rd. In turn, he's trying to work out how to get back on the terms of the McLaren. Hartog goes through, leading silver. Car over to Isha Pieris for the 2nd stint of the race in GT World Challenge Asia. The leaders dive under the camera through clearways, and at the end of the opening lap it was 11/10 of a second between the top two. It's up to 1.3 seconds now. Vermeulen is building that gap. Lucas Auer coming under attack. Look from Sven Müller. Mercedes-AMG versus Porsche. This is for 7th and 8th.
And as we go back to leader, he's not being held up a single iota.
Really impressive, this, by Thierry Vermeulen. We've seen quite a lot of him in GT World Challenge Europe over the last few seasons, and in the DTM as well. And just experience. Every season he looks stronger, he makes fewer errors. And yesterday, brilliant job right at the very end of qualifying. He's wide there at paddock. Now he's got to be careful, because that's where he picked up one track limit warning earlier. Straight away, we look towards the message line on the timing screen and see whether that has incurred another one. As long as there's one wheel is in contact with the white line, you're okay. There was a Lamborghini going wide at paddock in the background as well. So the drivers, as they push and the fuel load comes down and the car starts to feel ever so slightly different, they've got to be careful. But Vermeulen, I think, got away with that. Car 32, Charles Wirtz in 10th place. Is he a bit frustrated, I wonder? Well, let's find out. Let's just eavesdrop, number 32.
9 laps. Track limits turn 1. We have 2 warnings. No more. We have 2 warnings.
So Charles Wirtz gets the message about now 2 track limit warnings at paddock, and this is why, way wide, the wrong side of the white line, very nearly 2 wheels in the gravel almost.
Yeah, 40 centimetres illegal there, so no arguments there. And Will, the engineer, clear on the radio with his message: no more track limits. You really want to save them for when you can use them. By that I mean you let the car run out wide the corner, carry that momentum and carry that into a potential overtake. It's a good example here on the exit of turn 3, Graham Hill Bend. If you let it run wide, carry another couple of K down this straight, you've got a chance of outbreaking them into 30s, and it just starts to help you out there. If you're using them up willy-nilly, then it's kind of a bit academic, and you're being a bit selfish to your teammate in the second stint of this race.
But yeah, Thierry Vermeulen is not only the leader, but he's the only driver on 3 track limit warnings, more than anybody else in the race. Quite a few on 2, granted, but Thierry Vermeulen, while he's been pushing to build that lead, has overstepped the mark on 3 occasions, and that's not giving much leeway to Chris Lallam, his co-driver, when he gets on board. There's the full classification. It's still Luc Hartog in the lead of silver, Thierry Vermeulen leading in gold, as well as overall Marvin Kirchhofer leading in pro. Now, a 4th track limit warning has gone Vermeulen's way. He's going to be given the driving standards flag as the next part of the process, so you get your 3 warnings. A 4th transgression counts, but you also get that warning flag. But he's getting into the danger zone.
I don't get it at all. He's putting so much pressure on Lallam now. Lallam can't afford one mistake. That's the problem. Track limits is huge here, but the drivers are in control. Let's listen in again on car 50. It's coming in on the radio.
Track limit again. 40 for car 40. So go on track in turn 3. Please, no more. Please, no more. Take care.
So the team saying to the drivers, you can't afford to rack up any more. Ben Green, by the way, now has got those 2 that you were predicting. So all the drivers are getting them totting up. Lucas Auer is on 0, interestingly enough. He's keeping his nose very clean. Mauro Engel, his co-driver, you just saw getting himself ready. There's the Ferrari Challenge fight, as it were, keeping Adam Smalley's McLaren at bay in 6th, Auer 7th in the background. Sven Müller is now over a second back from Lucas Auer. That gap really has stretched over the last few laps. You get the feeling there's going to be a big, big moment there for Ben Green coming out of Sheen Curve. He got away with that. Does he get away with it at Sterling's on dirty tyres? He does. I was about to say, you get the feeling there might be a man scramble into the pits as soon as the window opens to try and do something to get out of the queue.
Here's the replay of Ben Green running wide. No exit curve whatsoever on the exit of Sheen, so you are straight into dirt. Technically not a track limit because he keeps a wheel on the track, but not good for performance. And as a driver, you know you've got dirt on the tyres as well, so you're kind of second guessing how much grip you've got.
The pit window is now open, and let's see if the lead car dives to the pit lane. This is the right-hander. Vermeulen is the more experienced of the 2, but he's in. And so too is going to be Kirchhofer for 2nd place. That's going to put Alessio Rivera into the lead. He stays out. Ben Green stays out. Arthur Leclerc, I think, comes in as well. And potentially Adam Smalley. Auer stays out, but you've got Sven Müller's Porsche into the pit lane. So Rivera leads Green now as down the pit road comes Leclerc.
I'm surprised Kirchhofer came in with the pace of that car. I would have stayed out with the clear air. I would have done opposite box. The team told you the opposite to the car in front. Vermeulen pitting, I would have kept him out. But let's see, this is going to be our first race on pit road.
And also Charles Wirtz is in, number 32 in the Team WRT BMW. This is a roll of the dice for the Belgian team to see what they can gain on the pit stops. They're at pit out as well, so as soon as Kelvin van der Linde gets into the red BMW, he can blast away. Vermeulen keeps track position over Kirchhofer. In other words, Chris Lullum now is ahead as he makes his way down the pit lane ahead of Benji Goethe. New drivers, same cars, same positions.
1.2 seconds quicker in the pits, though, for Garage 59 Goethe. Now versus Lullum, that gap has come down. Great stop from Garage 59. All the cars look like they've had a clean pit stop so far. Van der Linde 42, that was 3 seconds quicker than Garage 59. WRT have been very quick in the pits. Is that going to put that car 30 in contention? Let's see. Once everyone's boxed, we'll get an idea. But this race now in its second element, second chapter, is really lighting up. Lullum looking quite defensive already with 33 minutes to go. I'm not sure that's the best move.
But this is going to be the making of Chris Lullum, isn't it? I'm not for a moment suggesting that he's not equal to the challenge, but he is, from an esports background in which he is an absolute star, he is very raw when it comes to real-world racing. He dominated Radicals last year, but that's an amateur clubman's championship. It was a good experience for him. This is a completely different league. Look at these live pit stop times, 13, 14, 15 seconds between the Ferrari teams and the McLaren and Garage 59 that Adam Smalley has given away now into Philippe Pret. So Chris Lullum takes over the lead car, but is it going to be the lead car after the pit stop window has closed? As 51 Ferrari blast away, Alessio Rivera gives way to Vincent Abril. That was many people's tip for a win before the race got underway, and it looks as though that might well be able to gain the advantage on the pit stops. The lead car on the track is coming over the line. Abril rejoins, and he's going to gain the race lead, is he? Yes, he is. Vincent Abril is ahead of Chris Lullum as they come through paddock, and now Lullum's going to get up the inside. He gets crowded onto the grass. No, you don't, says Vincent Abril. Round the outside line comes Benjamin Goethe in the McLaren. He's going to have a go for second place, and Lullum try to get the lead. He doesn't do that, and he loses second place as well. Big lesson learnt.
That was just momentum, wasn't it? I feel for Lullum there. Abril was firm but fair with his defence. He gently edged over to the inside and left Lullum the choice of either hit the side of my car while you're bouncing across the grass or lift, and he went for the latter. Abril now on his outlaps, and we've got Goethe behind who's already had a lapse, who's got that up to feel, up to speed experience as the 32 BMW gets out the way. That's not for position. This is our lead battle. The AF car staying out a lap later has done the overcut.
Lullum coming back at Goethe. He's not at all happy about being shoveled back into third place. Goethe determined to try and strike on Vincent Abril now while he's got this opportunity, while he's got the momentum. Here they come out of Sheen Curve. Back markers up the road. So Vincent Abril making a welcome return to Brands Hatch. Is just going to have to be careful where he puts the car relative to the traffic. Lucas Auer is in to give way to Mauro Engel, but it's a really slow pit stop looking at the clock ticking away at the moment. Race leader then comes up towards the line, and so it is then on the road the car of 51, Vincent Abril in the lead, goes by and trying to build that gap over Benjamin Goethe. Half a second.
Yeah, it was actually an okay pit stop for Winwood, handing over to Engel from Auer. Obviously, it's hard for us to see the station time. We're seeing the full time that starts as soon as the car crosses pit entry. So Winwood did an okay job there, but the best job so far is that 51 AF course Ferrari now in the lead, flashing the headlights to the Barwell Lamborghini, trying to get them out of the way. It's not full position. That car of Ali should be moving out the way, but it's holding it up. Is that going to give a chance for the McLaren behind and even the Lullum Ferrari to get a run on there? Looks like Abril's to the inside and lives to fight another day.
Side-by-side leader through the traffic down towards Hawthorns. Benjamin Goethe is giving Vincent Abril a really good workout here as they run along the short straight up towards Westfield. Benjamin Goethe has got good pace, and in fairness to Chris Lullum, he's not falling away. He's determined to stay with them. Of course, in all of this, he wants to make sure he wins the Gold Cup. So, yes, OK, he's down to third overall, but there's a class win as well at stake here.
This is what we saw, and Abril got to the inside. There was a bit of contact. Lullum lost a bit of the front bodywork. One of the dive planes went flying, and then Goethe sent it round the outside to claim second position. Great move from the McLaren there.
And the top six now covered by 3.6 seconds, but Vincent Abril ahead. What he's, in a sense, possibly hoping for is that Benjamin Goethe gets stacked into Chris Lullum. A battle for second place would take the pressure off Abril, and then he might be able to get away. Lullum is certainly not falling away, is he, in third place? And as Vincent Abril leads on lap 35 here at Brands Hatch, and it's pretty much 8 in a line, isn't it? Louis Pret They're going through Surtees, chasing after Engel, chasing after Niederhauser. 5th is Neubauer, 4th is Lapalainen, 3rd is Lallem, 2nd is Goethe. Abril leads, 4/10 of a second the margin. This is Silver, where Echampieris is 6/10 of a second ahead of Jeff Machiels. Even if the Ferrari catches, then Machiels is going to try to find the width of the road to get past through the traffic. You've got Sandy Mitchell involved in that battle as well. Mitchell wants to get past the Ferrari, which he's about to do. He'll clear the Porsche, I think, as well, and that means that that Silver battle can then continue without a pro car around it.
Yeah, the battle of the green mirrors, Lamborghini, Ferrari. Ferrari gets the inside, keeps position. Can Sandy get back down the inside, cut back to short brake zone into Westfield? Thinks better of it, tucks in behind. Is Michael's able to get it onto the apex? He does, keeps it on track 2. Listen to this V10 singing through the tree-lined part of the GP circuit here at Brands Hatch. That Ferrari looking great through the high-speed corners, great aerodynamic balance on it. Then seems like the Lamborghini gets slightly better traction, more dust again. All of these drivers are starting to get it in their eyes. There's filters on the driver cooling systems, but those filters, once they're full of dust, the dust starts to get filed through, and you end up running with your visor down, just trying to protect your retinas from a load of soil.
Up to Druids they come, and as Lapalainen tries and fails to get by, that brings Neubauer onto his tail, and Niederhauser, 6th, joins the party as well. Chris Lallem, though, is doing a good job of defending, belying his lack of experience in real-world racing. Comes on the Cooper Straight, so with so many cars queued up behind him, would be easy to perhaps make a mistake. He hasn't done it yet. Again, Lapalainen tries to squeeze to the inside. Neubauer waiting for a gap that just does not present itself. 3.5 minutes are on the clock now. Top 5 in each class shown on the graphic. Abril, Goethe, Lapalainen, Neubauer, Niederhauser, the leading 5 in pro. That's going to change with Niederhauser's penalty. Chris Lallem hanging on to that lead of gold, and it is still Echampieris leading in silver. So the South African driver, Calvin van der Linde, again looking to make his move. He's got the pace, and he has to try the outside line to Surtees. That's not going to work.
Yeah, Louis Pret on the defence there. South African against Monegas. Who's going to come out on top? The BMW's got strong straight line speed. We know that's how the car generates his lap time. Louis Pret's going to move to the right side to cover that off. Doesn't cover it fully. Van der Linde puts it inside down. Louis Pret gives him a space there. I'm surprised by that. This should be job done now as they break next time into Westfield. Van der Linde gets the job done.
As now through Sheen Curve comes Vincent Abril. 7/10 of a second up at the start of this lap. The clock has, 12 seconds and counting on it. The checkered flag is being made ready, and so Vincent Abril and Alessio Rivera look as though they are going to come through victorious at the end of our first Sprint Cup race of the season in GT World Challenge Europe. The checkered flag is at the ready, and it is going to be a Ferrari win at Brands Hatch. A win for Vincent Abril and Alessio Rivera, who is absolutely delighted with that. 2nd to Benjamin Goethe and Marvin Kirchhoff. A 3rd, Chris Lallem and Thierry Vermeulen. They also win gold. Constant Lapalainen and Ben Green take 4th. 5th, Thomas Neubauer and Arthur Leclerc. And 6th, Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Muller on the road. Then you put the penalty on. But how about this? Coming up to the line, it is going to be Lurk Hartog and Echampieris to win silver. Brilliant drive by Echampieris. Far less experienced than Lurk Hartog. I really expected that car to drop away in the class, but he has done a fantastic job of keeping that in the mix and winning the class. Let's have a look then at the provisional result with Vincent Abril and Alessio Rivera, the winners from Marvin Kirchhoff and Benjamin Goethe. Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lallem 3rd, and they win gold. Ben Green and Constant Lapalainen 4th ahead of Arthur Leclerc, and then Thomas Neubauer 6th on corrected time is where you find Lucas Amaro Engel ahead of Charles Witz and Calvin van der Linde. 8th, Adam Smalley and Louis Pret, and down to 9th with the time penalty, Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser. 10th is where you find the silver winners, Lurk Hartog and Echampieris, after a really impressive drive by both, and that car coming home victorious in class from Jeff Machiels and Marcos Siebert, Maxim Oostern and Max Jensen taking 3rd in silver. So very happy AF Corsa team, very happy drivers, no question about it, and a 2nd Ferrari win in Sprint Challenge. And then the winners' trophies will go to the Ferrari drivers from AF Corsa, after the team's trophy goes to Amato Ferrari's team. And applause from the drivers for the team. The mechanics down on the pit lane celebrate as well. But Vincent Abril and Alessio Rivera winning in the end by 6/10 of a second. The winners' trophies presented, and 2 very happy Ferrari drivers on the top step here at Brands Hatch. Race 2 here at Brands Hatch is getting closer to blast off. It was a really interesting first race. You take a grid based on the second qualifying session, so the driver that finished race 1 starts race 2, and the grid is based on their qualifying time. And we have the grid good to go. Just going back to those highlights, it was a good first race for Luke Hartog and Isham Pearce. We thought in silver, just as the car crossed the line, came news of a penalty, 5 seconds of a time penalty, because a wheel was not flat on the floor in the pit stop. So when you gave the 5-second penalty, they lost the silver win. They also fell off the podium to 4th in class. So I'm afraid Luke Hartog, Isham Pearce did not win silver. It was Jeff Mackiels and Marcos Siebert who did. But all those points counting towards the manufacturer award. So now, after race 1 here at Brands Hatch, Mercedes AMG 23 points up on BMW M, then Porsche, then Ferrari, then Audi in the GT World Challenge, powered by AWS Manufacturer Cup. And that could perhaps change again, depending on what we have over the next hour of racing, especially given that it's a Mercedes AMG on pole position, Maro Engel on pole position. And a very busy grid it is. Maro Engel for Winwood Racing, reigning Sprint Cup champion, put the car on pole position yesterday. His first pole for a Sprint Cup race since Valencia back in 2021. Although the car perhaps didn't have the absolute pace in the first race, Maro and Lucas Au know how to win races and how to win championships. There is Maro Engel, good to go. Chris Lullum, though, second on the grid, fastest in gold, and he did a really good job in race 1. Bryn Lucas is down there with him.
Well, Chris, it was a fantastic performance in that first race, wasn't it? You had that brilliant result of 3rd overall and the victory for gold, but this time you have to start the race, the first time you've ever started in a GT3 kart race itself. Yeah, absolutely. I've got my work cut out for me, and I'm looking forward to getting this underway. I'm sure anything can happen at turn 1 and 2, but hopefully I come out in the top 2 or 3. That would be a good result. What have you learned from that first race? Yeah, I learned how to deal with the dirty air. The air wash is quite significant on this track. You don't really have a lot of places to overtake, and the margin for error is very small. So that's the main thing I've experienced in race 1, and hopefully we can make our way up 1, but we'll see what happens. Good luck. Thank you.
Chris Lullum from esports to real-world GT3 cars. That's Sandy Mitchell, who will start on the second row of the grid, 3rd fastest in qualifying. Hugo Cook there with Mark Lemmer. Hugo will take the car over. It's Mark Lemmer's team that runs the number 78 Lamborghini. Now, Maro Engel, the man on pole position. Let's hear from him.
Well, Maro, the question really is, great one-lap pace of qualifying, and it's not seemed to be replicated in the race. Is there an issue with the car? Is it just set up, or is it Brands Hatch and the entire situation?
No, I think obviously the Ferraris were very strong in that first race. We nailed qualifying. I had a perfect lap. Really got the peak out of it. So it's great to start on pole. But now we need to try and keep the other guys behind.
We have a tradition over here in the UK that if you break a mirror, it's 7 years bad luck. Now apparently in Germany it's the opposite way around. How's the luck? Yeah, it's when you break glass, it's good luck. So we'll stick with that. Good luck. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is what happened yesterday before Maro went out for qualifying. Adjustments to the mirror, and then eventually the mirror broke. Well, it brought good luck. He put the car on pole position.
Yeah, it was a great lap from Maro, and we saw it at Ricard. That's what we're talking about. The one-lap pace of that win with Mercedes, very, very strong, but it seems to lack over a stint. You can actually see the mechanics there kneeling by the front tyre. We've seen them doing that to keep the tyre temperature in that. And the pit lane actually opened at 15 minutes past the hour, nearly 20 minutes ago. So those tyres have been out the oven, seeping temperature, which then loses grip. So these start drivers here, Lapalainen on the right of shot, getting ready. They've got a lot of work to do to get these temperatures back into the window to give themselves the best possible chance of getting the most grip for lap 1.
Number 30 BMW there is Gilles Stadsbader's car. That had an electrical gremlin before race 1. Had to start from the pit lane, but it's on the grid for race 2, which is good to see. The 2 cars at the back once again are the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghinis. They were excluded from the qualifying sessions, plural, because they were running the wrong balance of performance. So therefore, times disallowed, put to the back of the grid, and they've really got their work cut out to make progress, as we saw in the first race. Jordan Pepper did make progress, but then got a drive-through for causing a collision. So having battled his way up, he slithered all the way back down again. It's a busy grid, but it's starting to be cleared now as the engineers, the tyre trolleys, the flags start to go back to the pit lane. And there, number 32 BMW is Kelvin van der Linde, the South African driver behind the wheel. Charles Weerts crouches down just to make sure that his co-driver is in and happy and content, and winning The Endurance Cup opener at Paul Ricard seems a far cry from the pace that the BMW has had here. Totally different circuit, admittedly, but they've struggled a little bit thus far. A good result in race 1 for Cesar Gazzo and Aurelian Panis in the Boutsen VDS Mercedes, third in silver. Let's go back down to Bryn on the grid.
Cesar, in the end, it was a second in the first race, and you're starting in a decent position here. What can you do from the pole in silver? Can you look ahead and eat into the drivers ahead, or is it the silver that you're looking at entirely?
No, I'm looking ahead. Honestly, I'm gonna push hard, try to take some space from the silver guys behind. We need some strong point for the championship, so yeah, focus, and I'm not gonna look behind me.
You look focused. Good luck.
Cesar Gazzo shares with Aurelian Panis, the son of Grand Prix racer Olivier Panis, and the other car, which is in Pro, is Maxime Martin and Luca Stolz. So we have 5 minutes and counting to the start of the formation lap as you look then down onto number 51, which is the car that won earlier on in the day, Alessio Rivera and Vincent Abril. But here, Joe, only 9th on the grid with an Abril time.
Yeah, Abril had been quickest in pre-quali, so we expected probably more from him in his qualifying session, but his pace earlier this morning in the race was strong, so he will definitely be looking to move forward. We saw some great starts, didn't we, earlier in the race. Hartog, probably the best starter, got 6 places on the opening lap in race 1. So moving forward is possible, not easy, and then the risk goes up of contact. But yeah, as you look at these cars into turn 1, the outside is a long way round, but there's some opportunity to be had there to gain some places.
Simon Gachet, CSA Racing McLaren, good to go. That car is 12th on the grid. Simon Gachet and Jim Pla. They've spent so many years between them driving in either Audis or Mercedes. They're having to adapt to a new car, but they're getting there, and both are very quick drivers. So a combination to watch. 3-minute board now shown as the grid empties. The final officials and engineers starting to make their way off the grid. So Mercedes and I thought in that first stint, but it's going to be really interesting to see what Chris Lallam can do. That stint he did in race 1, also useful. It might only have been half an hour or so, but he'll have learnt a lot from that.
Yep, and there's so much learning to be had around here. The bumps seem to be the biggest thing the drivers are reporting this year. Even from last year, the bumps have got worse, especially in the brake zone of turn number 1. You'll see these ripples as we look into turn number 1. That's where the cars are going light and then heavy again. And then there's that big bump on entry as well into the last corner drivers having to contend with. And that was actually what the CSA team were complaining the most about. They were very quick at Paul Ricard, which is almost billiard table flat and smooth, but Brands Hatch is quite the opposite. So lots of learning for all teams at all times around here at Brands Hatch.
And Louis Pret's door open as the engineer has a last word with him. That's another car in gold. 4th on the grid. We talked about the gold pole, Chris Lallam. 2nd fastest in gold, Gilles Magnus, the Belgian driver. Leonardo Boncini 3rd on the grid. Louis Pret 4th. Cesar Gazzo, the silver pole from Alex Arca, Jamie Day and Maxime Ouston. That's the top 4 in silver. So the 1-minute board is imminent, and then of course it's going to be the rolling start. The lead car, the Maserati, will take them away. One chance to get warmth into the tyres. The fans are ready. They've had a busy day of action here from not only GT cars, but also McLaren Trophy, from historic sports cars, and from minis. Real mix, and it feels like hundreds of supercars parked in the various display areas just behind where we're broadcasting from. So everywhere you look, there's a desirable GT car, but we're about to focus on 30 of them on track because the 1-minute board is shown. Engines are fired up, and we're about to have a look at Brands Hatch.
3.916 kilometres, 9 corners. We saw some instant spots, didn't we? Turn number 4 is always a hot spot. It's a bit of a lunge 30s there as a break point, but look at that fast flowing nature. Hawthorne's turn number 5, driver's favourite. Up, down, all and around Brands Hatch. There's not a single moment to rest. The shortest lap of the 10 tracks we go to in GT World Challenge Europe as well.
It is indeed, and it's a physical lap in many respects as the drivers then are about to leave the grid, and then we can have a look at, if you like, a real Brands Hatch and have a real look at the corners. The 15-second board shown, and a little bit windy it has become. The temperature 12.9 degrees here, wind speed 5.7. Track temperature 28.4, just dropped as I was starting the sentence, degrees centigrade. And the green flag shown to release the cars then to get the formation lap underway. Maro Engel rumbles off the line in the Mercedes AMG. Chris Lallam does a Vermeulen in a sense by lighting up the tyres to get a bit of warmth in and put a bit of rubber down, and then up towards Paddock Hill Bend they go. Remember, pit stop window between 25 and 35 minutes, and they're not done to a time. These are as quick as you can pit stops. The onus on the driver coming in, but also on the mechanics to get the tyre change done as fast as. Mauro Engel on pole, Chris Lallam lines up second, Sandy Mitchell goes from third, and Thomas Neubauer, a winner here in 2019, goes from fourth. Fifth, Benjamin Goethe, runner-up earlier on in the day. Sixth on the grid, Consta Lapalainen, ahead of Calvin van der Linde, and then Patrick Niederhauser with Vincent Abril, the race one winner, only ninth. Enrique Chavez, an impressive 10th, ahead of Gilles Magnus, and then Simon Gachet. 13th, Leonardo Moncini. 14th is Louis Pret, with Cesar Gazo, the pole position driver, in silver. 15th, just alongside Alex Arca, also in silver. Then Jamie Day and Maxime Houston, Silver Cup rivals next, ahead of Jens Klingman. Then Arvin Klimenko, ahead of James Kell and Gilles Stoutsbader. He's 22nd on the grid. Lucas Stoltz, a long way back, 23rd, ahead of the Corvette of Jesse Salmanalpio. Then it is Silver Cup winner from race one, Jeff Machiels, ahead of Christian Vogel, Echampieris, who won on the road in silver. Romain Andriolo in the Mustang that missed qualifying. Then Jordan Pepper and Baptiste Moulin put to the back of the grid for being excluded after qualifying. They're allowed to start, but after the wrong BOP was run, they are at the back of the grid. Cars come then down towards Hawthorns, weaving around, generating warmth in the Pirelli tyre. Right, we played this privately, let's do it publicly. Pick a winner.
You can't pick the obvious ones. That's why I always feel I like to go for a long shot. One of them is this car, Sandy Mitchell, is going to be very quick and aggressive at the start. Hugo Cook, slightly inexperienced in comparison to Mitchell, so I can't see them. I do quite fancy an outside bet, and my outside bet is going to be the Garage 59 car of Kirchhoffer and Benji Goeth. So they're starting on row 3 on the inside. We saw great pace from both of them, and I think that McLaren looks like a good car across this Brands Hatch lap. I'll throw the same question back at you. Tell me who's going to win.
I'm going to go the obvious route, but maybe it's not so obvious because of the pace in race one. Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel. I just think they know how to win races and championships. But I grant you, the car did not look as quick as it needed to be. But if Mauro can get away, we know that he's good and he knows his way around here. We know that Lucas Auer is quick. Well, we'll have a debrief in an hour and a bit, won't we, as to who was right and wrong. I won't bother with the classes, that's even more complicated. Down they come underneath the bridge towards Clearways. It is going to be Mauro Engel on the inside on pole position. It's going to be Chris Lallam alongside him on the outside in the Red Bull coloured Ferrari. Kelvin van der Linde, you just went on board with briefly, then he starts 7th on the grid on the 4th row, but it's a very crowded house as the cars come down to Clearways. You're going to have to be really brave on the first lap. The fans are ready, and underneath the bridge they come. So Mauro Engel, Chris Lallam on the front row. Sandy Mitchell, I think, is going to be a live wire on the first lap, and so also is Thomas Neubauer, who perhaps is a somewhat underrated GT driver. So there's a lot to look for as race 2 at Brands Hatch is ready to go. They make their way up now towards the timing line. The race director, Niels Wittich, if he's happy with the formation, and you can see on the inside of row 2, Sandy Mitchell looking for a gap. He'll give the indication to go green. We go racing. Bad start by Lallam. He was slightly caught napping, I think, so Engel gets away. Up the inside goes Sandy Mitchell into second place straight away. Nice move. So Engel leads. Second, it's Sandy Mitchell going up the hill. Chris Lallam is third in the Ferrari. And then who's going to be fourth? On the outside is Lapalainen, and on the inside is Neubauer.
Yeah, it was a great jump from Engel. He slowed it right down as Lallam hangs it round the outside of Mitchell to hold on to second place. Ferrari's jostling back, go on board with Mitchell. Bit of a rub there on the back of Lallam. That's a shame for Mitchell because it actually gave the momentum into the rear of that Ferrari, and off he goes. This is playing into Engel's hand. Lallam defending, poor exit onto the back straight now. Engel gapping them. That's going to be a second and a half plus as the gap as we look at them too wide running through. Goeth with the Porsche on his outside and a queue behind him. This is going to get fiery there 2 by 2 as they approach Hawthorns.
Down they come for the first time. Mauro Engel trying to build that lead. Benji Goethe goes through, but Engel is away and gone by 3, 4, 5 lengths or so over Chris Lallam, who did a really good job of fighting back as Enrique Chavez and the Aston gets up the inside there. Leans a little bit almost on the McLaren. Patrick Niederhauser ahead in the Porsche, gets away. Chavez goes through on the inside, takes the place away. So nice move as the McLaren goes through. Up now towards the left-hander of Sterling's, towards the end of lap number 1. Mauro Engel pushing, trying to build that lead, knowing that if you're up front, it's hard to be overtaken. Down they come through Clearways. Another of the McLarens further back being crowded out a little bit, but that's a demon first lap by Mauro Engel. He has stormed away Chris Lallam, though, really good a fight, an attacking first lap to retake second place. Mitchell third, Neubauer fourth, Lapalainen fifth. Kelvin van der Linde is up to sixth. As there on the inside line going through is the Louis Pret McLaren. That's dropped a long, long way back on the first lap, and so actually is Benji Goethe. He was ninth at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, my tip for the win has lost 4 places and is down in 9th place. Car looked awful out the back, a lot of oversteer, and I think maybe Garage 59 sent that car to the grid too early. It was one of the first cars out there, so it lost the most tyre temp. I think Goethe's got to get that car working, get it back in the window, but he has got no pace whatsoever after a strong qualifying and a strong race one this morning. They're fading fast.
But Chris Lallam has just taken 4/10 out of Mauro Engel in the first sector alone, so that Ferrari is looking very, very racy right now as the cars drop down through Hawthorne. That is Goethe, so he has fallen to 9th as the field accelerates along the straight, and that's the lead gap, and it's coming down. Lallam taking Mitchell with him. 4th is Thomas Neubauer. Lapalainen is 5th. Van der Linde is 6th. 7th is Niederhauser. Then it's Chavez, Goethe, Gachet to round out the top 10. They're coming up to the end of the middle sector, and fractionally the faster is Engel than Chris Lallam. So you gain in one sector, you lose a little bit in the other, but as the field now accelerates down to clearways, number 19 is being investigated for a jump start, Baptiste Moulin. Leaders go by. Engel to Lallam was 1.2 seconds, and now it's down to 7/10. Lallam lapping demonstrably quicker than Mauro Engel.
Yeah, nearly 5/10 of a second quicker. So he has got some serious pace. We saw that in race 1, so we shouldn't be expecting him. Engel really deep in Druids there. Completely missed the apex. Expect that to be a couple of tenths lost as well. Is that what we're seeing with this Winwood Mercedes? Fast over 1 lap. That first lap was quick. We saw that in qualifying. But then, is it working the tyres too hard? What's it doing? It's not in a happy place. The guy that is in a happy place, another purple sector, is that man Lallam, second place. But he's dragging Mitchell with him too. Mitchell's pace looking strong. Neubauer in 4th, also looking good. Lapalainen okay. But then they're starting to gap the cars behind.
Chris Lallam's Ferrari second in the race. That's the Gold Cup leader, and Cesar Gazzo is the leader in silver, but only just. Good little battle going on here. Look as down they plunge. That's Jordan Pepper just ahead of the Audi Veerman Clemenco, then Lucas Stoltz.
Jordan Pepper's made 9 places so far. He started 29th, up to 20th. That is a demon start. And it actually looks like his front bumper's in one piece as well, so he's done it cleanly. We're seeing the jump start for 19. Look at the background. That's the teammate of Pepper. Tried to judge the lights and went way too early. Penalty relatively harsh because actually lost time, but the intent was the reason for the penalty. Tried to jump it, but yeah, it didn't work out.
So a 10-second penalty is given for that jump start, even though he dropped back, but the offence had been committed. So a 10-second penalty to Baptiste Moulin, which will unravel there. Right, leaders have gone by, 7/10 of a second. Last time around, Lallam was fractionally quicker again than was Mauro Engel. Up at Druids, the leaders turn and then drop downhill. They're going by, number 10. That is the Cesar Gazzo Mercedes, and right up behind him is Alex Arca in the Audi. That is the Silver Cup lead battle. Up the road ahead, 51. Vincent Abril, he's only 11th. Abril, the race 1 winner, he's gone backwards.
Yeah, 2 places lost on this opening start of the race. That's what I love about GT World Challenge Sprint. There's 2 races and you can have 2 completely separate results. We're seeing a race winner outside of the top 10. Shows you how competitive this field really is. 8 manufacturers inside the top 12 as well, so good diversity across there as we look at Gazzo, our silver class leader at the moment. I say at the moment, look how close and aggressive the front of that Attempto Audi of Acker is looking as they dive through Dingledale. You've got to spot your braking point as you come up over the hill, clamber the curb on the inside. Not quite enough apex from the Audi there, and that's why we're seeing so much dust kicked up at the moment. A lot of cars running nose to tail. Who's going to be the car to make the move?
Neubauer has done an absolute best sector, so has Niederhauser, but you push in a sector, you catch a car, you get stuck in the dirty air. There is Gazzo still leading silver. Race leaders have gone through, with Mauro Engel still being caught by Chris Lallam, but Sandy Mitchell third has now done the fastest lap of the race. Sandy Mitchell a 1:24.3, quickest man out there, so they're concertinaing for the race lead. They're going by is Jordan Pepper. So he started 29th, he is now 20th, and the next target is Louis Pret. But look at Engel. Chris Lallam is edging ever closer. They're coming up towards the end of the first sector, and Sandy Mitchell with that fastest lap of the race right with them as well now. Engel at that part of the racetrack quicker than those behind, but I'm talking here 87 thousandths of a second quicker.
Yeah, it's tight, but I like the pace from Mitchell. Got a bit of an accordion going on at the moment, haven't we? That Lamborghini trying to squeeze a note out of Lundholm and Engel. Let's see who squeals first. Looks like Goeth has found a bit of pace and he's stopped the rock, but he's all the way down in 9th after what I thought was going to be a strong race for that car. We've got slightly different weather conditions, slightly cooler than the race this morning. Some of the teams would have adjusted pressures, of course, in the tyres to help, but maybe some of them were waiting for the car to come to them as they filter through. At the moment, relatively clean all the way down the order.
Now the race leaders are on lap number 5. Mauro Engel is still under pressure from Chris Lundholm. He's coping with it admirably. He's pacing himself, knowing that as long as he's ahead when they get to the pit stops, then they're still in with a good chance with the pace of Lucas Auer in stint 2. This is Alex Arca's view. He's staring at the back of Cesar Gazzo's Mercedes AMG for the Silver Cup lead as they head in towards paddock. Closes a little maybe as they get into the corner. Turn right, the road absolutely plunges downhill. And then you climb up towards Druids. Hit the brakes, down through the gears. Turn sharp right, bang, almost into the back of the Mercedes.
Yeah, he's showing the strength he's got in that Audi under braking there. Doesn't lose too much time, but he did run in too deep on the brakes. We see a battle ahead, 2 Audis side by side, one getting elbowed out there. That was Magnus and Moncini. They've swapped place, and now we can see Acker's trying to defend from that car as he gets past his teammate, and he stays on the back of that Mercedes.
So the Mercedes of Boots and VDS goes through the traffic. Leonardo Moncini gets forced back in the pack as a consequence, and the cars now come again down towards Hawthorne. So Moncini in the other Attempto car, number 88, the one that fell back in the queue. Out of Hawthorne, short straight, Westfield, turn right, the road again drops and then climbs the other side towards Sheen Curve, out of Dingle-Dell. And right now, Mauro Engel 4/10 up from Chris Lundholm. Sandy Mitchell in 3rd place as they come through Sheen, running a little bit wide, just kicking up a bit of dirt on the outside. In terms of the fastest speeds, it is at the moment the Maxime Houston BMW, 249 kilometres an hour as a top speed. Another BMW second, Gilles Stadsbader's car. Another BMW third in terms of top speed, Kelvin van der Linde. So a good fastest part of the circuit takes you just about, let's say, to 250 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, and then that white BMW, so those 2 BMWs in the top 4, speed trap-wise, the Paradigm competition one, running trimmed out on that rear wing to help with that VMAX, but VMAX doesn't mean fast lap time, and that's why we're seeing that car running in 17th position overall at the moment. Mitchell still gaining. That in-road has been slowed down, only a 10.5 quicker than Lundholm on the last lap, and actually Engel has done his best lap of the race on that last lap and was only slightly slower than Mitchell's last lap. As we go on board, you'll see the cars throw into the right, try and get to the apex curb. You don't really want to touch the apex curb at that point, can unsettle the balance of the car. This curb, you want to use all of it, and you can see how much they are bouncing across as we come up the rise through Dingle-Dell, through Sheen. How much curb can we use on the inside? I used to love launching over the green. Both the Ferrari and Sandy Mitchell and the Lambo do it. Into Sterling, one of the only 3 left-handers on the lap. Slight quirk of Brands Hatch. You're forever turning right, and the last right of the lap into Clearways. There's a big bump now as you join the Indy circuit. The road falls away. The car feels like it's magnetised into the gravel trap on the left, onto the pit straight, which is anything but straight, and into Paddock Hill. You'll see the bumps here. The driver's trying to get over to the left to avoid them. Dive down the hill, 3rd gear, going over 140 kilometres an hour through turn 1 into the slowest point of the lap. 2nd, sometimes even 1st gear. Sandy Mitchell is down to 1st, rotates the car hard on the throttle. 550 horsepower from that Lamborghini V10 naturally aspirated engine, giving them all the powers. Lundholm wide there at Graham Hill, but then we have a huge snap of oversteer on board the Lamborghini. Look how much time that lost us. It could have even been a track limit warning as well as we left the circuit on the right-hand side, back onto the GP circuit and onto the fastest point on the track. Cars getting 250 kilometres an hour nearly at the end of this straight.
And still just half a second between Engel and Lundholm, and then about half a second between Lundholm and Mitchell. So a second covers the top 3 at the moment. We're working lap number 8 here, and currently in number 99, Alex Arca, the Audi, is 14th overall, but as we go on board, 2nd in silver. He's still chasing after Cesar Gazzo in the Boots and VDS Mercedes, the quicker of the 2, because the other car of Luca Stoltz, the Pro Cup car, is way back in 22nd. Luca, we know, is a very accomplished Mercedes AMG driver. This is 300th race for Mercedes AMG Luca Stoltz, but he's a long way off the pace, and he'll be really frustrated with that. Jordan Pepper, by the way, up into 18th from 29th on the grid.
Yeah, he's had a monster stint, hasn't he? As we see Acker still tucked up behind, running wider and wider. The problem with the dirty air is it works the tyres harder and harder. You're using the life up and you're just trying to stay with them, and it is a difficult circuit to do it because it is so fast and flowing. There is Jordan. He's made 11 places in inside 12 minutes, and the car looks clean, like I said, so he's been hard and fair. And now he's got 2 BMWs to fight with, but that car should have been, I think, on the chance for an overall podium had it not been for their disqualification out of qualifying. So it's a frustrating weekend for them.
They are under investigation, though, for an incident with James Kell in number 112 McLaren. James Kell is now last, having been 21st on the grid. So it is under investigation. There might be something lurking in the system for Jordan Pepper, but right now all he can do is push, 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 and his next target is the Paradigm car of Maxime Houston. There he is, the former Lamborghini Super Trofeo racer, coming under attack from a Lamborghini factory driver.
Yeah, we saw Pepper, didn't we, do a move at turn 4 earlier on Jamie Day and the Aston Martin, which attracted a penalty, and that's the corner is under investigation. It was the corner I thought there would be a hot spot as well.
Drive through for Jordan Pepper. So for causing a collision, Jordan Pepper gets a drive through. So James Kell last, thanks to the assault from Pepper, and a drive through comes for Jordan.
Very nice. He's a seasoned pro, Pepper, but that's 2 similar mistakes in back-to-back races. That's the problem when you start at the back. Acker's having to run the windscreen wiper, not because of rain, because of dust that has been flung onto the front of that Audi R8. The problem with that is actually seems to be smearing it more than clearing it. So I think he needs to knock that off and just try and look through it. But the team are going to have to clean the windscreen or take a tear-off in the pit stop, because that is really a quarter way through the race, and that is hard to look through.
Yeah, it's a really, really impaired vision that he's got. Wiper on again, but you're right, all it's doing is just smearing the dirt. Right now, he is 2/10 back from Cesar Gazzo, and you can see how much energy has to be put into the car. Second gear at Surtees, back onto the power, hauling out the other side. Leaders are going down towards Hawthorns. It's still half a second between the top 2. And because there's so much on the windscreen, you do think, oh, it must be raining. But it's not, it's just dirt, as Joe has explained. And Acker turns right through Hawthorns, still chasing the Mercedes.
The problem if that's the dirt on the windscreen, imagine the brake ducting, the engine intakes, all full of that dust. It's getting absolutely everywhere. There's no washer fluid system on GT3 cars, so you can't just spray it like you would on your road car. That's why the only chance they've got is in the pit stop. But are they going to waste any time? They've only got 20 seconds stationary maximum, so I think they're just going to have to tell the drivers, crack on with it. Jordan Pepper still hasn't done his drive-through penalty yet. He's got 2 more laps to serve it as we look at that battle raging on. Windscreen wiper now off, but for sure he's lost 50-60% of his visibility, and you'll get used to it, but it takes you a few laps to be able to look through that and not lose focus.
Jordan Pepper into the pits for the drive-through, and as he comes down the pit lane, let's have a look at why he got it. Gets up the inside of James Kell and kind of shovels him aside.
Yeah, it's almost identical to the move he put on Jamie Day, isn't it? And when we pick it up, and we're not seeing it for long enough to say he's definitely in the wrong, but where the contact is, it's his front right against the rear left of the other car, this time James Kell, and that does look pretty damning. So frustration for Grasser this weekend.
Absolutely right. So for Winward Racing, it is the Manfilter-backed car of Mauro Engel, still ahead of Chris Lulham, then Sandy Mitchell's Lamborghini third. And those 3 have got away, haven't they, by nearly 2 seconds now, the gap 3rd to 4th, Mitchell to Thomas Neubauer. So Neubauer, who shares with Arthur Leclerc, quick driver, winner here in the past, but he's not been able to stay with the top 3. So whatever we've been saying about the Mercedes and maybe not actual great pace other than over 1 lap, the Ferrari in 4th isn't part of the leading fight anyway.
No, and that's for sure, but the pace is much slower in this race. We're in the high 24s at the moment. The lap record was actually beat in the race earlier by Jordan Pepper. It was a low 123.2, so we're 1.5 seconds off that at the moment. I'm not sure if the Mercedes is actually dictating the pace from the front, and then Neubauer is almost a secondary cork in it. Sandy going in deep again, trying to veer off. It's a long way round, Druids, doing it that way, but the tyre likes it because you're braking in a straighter line and you're accelerating in a straighter line. That sort of V-shaped racing line at a hairpin, very popular in a modern GT car with the ABS and traction control systems afforded. You can really use and abuse it. The car looking relatively stable for Sandy now. We rode on board a couple of laps ago and it looks a bit leery. Car seems to be coming into a better window. We are now only 8 minutes and 38 seconds away from the pit window opening.
Lulham versus Mitchell is starting to develop into a proper fight for second place, and that will help Engel, won't it? Because if they get together and start to squabble and delay one another, he can build that lead, because only half a second. He's led all the way. We're on lap 12, but Mauro Engel just can't get away from that Ferrari in second place. Indeed, he had a bigger gap, I think, at the end of the opening lap, and it shrunk, and he's never been able to rebuild it.
Yeah, we heard Lulham on the grid talking to Britain about the dirty air, and as soon as you're within a second of these modern GT cars, you just start to lose a bit of grip, and it kind of starts to feel like the car's floating away from you, like when you've been on a trampoline bouncing around and then you get back on terra firma, your legs are a bit like jelly. That's how it feels in dirty air. Something's not quite sure-footed, and that's what he's struggling with. He can catch, but he can't overtake.
Alex Arca then hard at work in number 99 as he comes across the line. You can see the onboard inset there in the timing tower as he goes into paddock hill bend, still chasing after Cesar Gazzo. That lead gap in silver, 0.3 of a second. In terms of gold, Chris Lulham in the blue Ferrari there in second place overall. The second car in gold is Gilles Magnus in 12th place overall. So it's a big, big cushion that Chris Lulham has got, whereas the Gazzo Arca battle is just 0.3 of a second.
But we heard, didn't we, earlier, especially from Vermeulen, Lulham's teammate, that they're not happy with just gold. They're thinking overall. Yeah. And I love that mentality that they've already discounted the gold category for them. They're that competitive overall. They're looking all the way through the series as we watch Niederhauser at the back of this 4-car battle pack that is being held up by the number 50 Ferrari of Neubauer, now nearly 1.8 seconds behind Mitchell in third place. Who's going to be quick in the pit stop? We saw both Rutonic Porsches attract pit stop penalties. This Porsche, that one was for actually just speeding on entry, and the second one was an infringement by the mechanics with the wheels. They're quick in the pits, but both cars got penalties in race 1 this morning.
Lapalainen into Clark Curve, number 14. That's the sister car to Chris Lulham's in second place. Consta Lapalainen 5th. He will give way to Ben Green for the second stint. And we're not that far away from the pit window opening, as Joe was saying. Sandy Mitchell still has that fastest lap of the race as you look here at 4th and 5th and 6th as they head up the hill. So Neubauer, Lapalainen, Kelvin van der Linde. Yellow flag because off the road has gone number 19. That is Baptiste Moulin. That is buried in the gravel over at Sheen Curve. And that surely is going to be a safety car to get that out of the way.
Yeah, this is going to make the pits very busy in 6 minutes because the full course yellow or safety car will still be active, I think, by the time the pit window opens. That is truly beached. It's a long way off, but of course it's not too far off where another car could make there.
If the race is under caution at the pit window, that will be delayed, won't it, until the caution period is done. So that will be delayed potentially depending on what race control do. We're going full course yellow first of all to slow everybody down. Full course yellow is coming now.
It looked like Engel slowed down a bit later than everyone else. I don't know if Lulham was early or Engel was late, but look at the gap that Engel has pulled away. That has definitely gone. Let's listen in on the team radio from Sandy Mitchell. Let's see what he's got to say to the Barwell team.
So what's your feeling at the moment on traffic and pace?
I just think obviously this is very close, so we need to have a clear line box too.
So the team trying to ask Sandy, are you getting held up by Lulham in front? And I've got to admit, I didn't really understand what he said, but the team would have heard better on the radio and they'll be making their decision. I think they need to go long with Mitchell. His experience in that car versus Hugo Cook, I think even being held up by Lulham slightly, that car needs to go long. And this is where we get the 80-kilometre-an-hour race. Some drivers trying to work out now, do I go short distance, pick up some detritus on the rubber? Because if I'm going to box before we go back to green, I don't need the tyres to be clean, and I can actually catch some cars up by going a shorter distance. And it does look like that Barwell Lamborghini is more at 80 than the Lulham Ferrari, because Sandy's actually looking to the inside saying, come on, speed up.
I think the conversation from Barwell to Sandy Mitchell was hinging around whether to try to bring him in early, therefore to try and jump the Chris Lulham Ferrari if he's being held up. But equally, they've got to counter that with maximising Sandy Mitchell's usefulness behind the wheel, because he's the Lamborghini factory driver. He therefore should be quicker than Hugo Cook. Saw in the background a moment ago Ricky Carlisle. There he is on the right of the shot, in the grey jacket, British GT champion last year, big smile on his face. He's here doing some coaching for the Barwell team for the Silver Cup car, but sadly we don't have Ricky on the grid this year, which is a great shame. Pit window has indeed been delayed because of the race being under caution, so we can only have the pit window open when we go green, and at the moment we are under the full course yellow. It may be that we do have to go safety car depending on the length of this to get the Lamborghini out of the way. Bear in mind, we didn't have a single safety car at Paul Ricard. We had full course yellows, but then the race was restarted, and Niels Wittich, who is the race director this year, but maybe looking at things in a slightly different way than his predecessor. So we'll see whether he is content to let them go after a full course yellow, or he wants a lap of safety car to bring things up to temperature. A learning process for all the teams, just his way of working in a way.
Yeah, I loved the race direction at Paul Ricard. It was fast and it was flowing, and we're right on the borderline, aren't we now? We've been under full course yellow for nearly 1 lap, 3 and a bit minutes at this speed. We haven't quite got eyes on 19. I can see on the GPS tracker it's moved closer to the track. So I think if we could get green in the next minute and a half, potentially we go straight to green. Much longer than that, I think we would have to go to safety car to allow these drivers to get the tyres back into temperature. That is the reason we have a safety car after a full course yellow, is to build the speed, build the energy back into these cars and then go.
So there, Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche goes through. There's your second and third place duel, which is Chris Lulham and Sandy Mitchell. There you can see the recovery operation. So the vehicle is now ready to hoik the Lamborghini out of the way, take that on to a place of safety, but it's not a 5-second process. There's Mark Lemmer there, talking on the radio, other drivers speaking to their engineers about how this is going to change the strategy. Andrew Kokodi at Garage 59 talking to Adam Smalley. So there's quite a lot now for the teams to unpack here.
Yeah, there's a huge amount. They're trying to work out when it's going to go green, what's the first lap they can pit, and yeah, I think with where they are at, we are going to see a full course yellow into safety car situation, which is going to bunch everyone up, and there's going to be some big losers there. One of them is going to be Mara Lengel. He had a good sort of healthy lead by the end of that. The other one is this car, actually, because we gapped Neubauer behind by a couple of seconds, and of course it means the pits are going to be even busier with the delay, but then everyone being tighter together. Releases are going to be a hot spot. You might have finished your pit stop, but if a car is already in the fast lane coming down, you've got to yield to them and wait, and it really does help cars at the start of pit lane, that element. If you're at the start, you're more likely to be able to release earlier in that instance.
Through Druids then they turn, and 78, you're riding with Sandy Mitchell on the back of Chris Lulham. Bearing in mind, I'd said before the full course yellow came that Mauro Engel was only leading by half a second. He's now 2.5 seconds up the road because of where people were on the track when the full course yellow was deployed. But as the Barwell team look at all the data, ponder what to do next, Sandy Mitchell certainly in a good place here. Great to have him in a Pro Cup car, isn't it?
Yeah, really good. He's been fast for many a year, obviously now in the Lamborghini factory roster, which is exactly what he deserves. And he kind of gets into a positive spiral there. You're fast, you're hungry, then you get taken on by the factory and you get more driving, so you get even faster, and then you get more confident, and it just builds and builds, and he's really on the top of his game and very well respected in that Lamborghini factory.
Number 25, Gilles Magnus, a 10-second penalty for forcing another car off track. Gilles Magnus is second in gold and 12th overall, but a penalty will be given, 10 seconds time penalty to number 25 Audi, forcing another car off the circuit, and it was 88 Leonardo Moncini that we saw, didn't we, coming out of Graham Hill Bend from memory.
Yeah, we were riding on board, weren't we, with Acker, so we had to look at it. It looked aggressive, and again, a bit like turn 4, turn 3, Graham Hill. It's always a bit of a lunge, so let's have a look. You'll see in the background there. Yeah, from what I've seen, I don't agree with that personally, because I think the Santalot car is actually a long way down the inside, and I didn't see any contact from the apex to exit. Angles can make a difference. This is what we saw live, so look at that white car, dives to the inside. I think it's a great move personally, and I'm not a race director, so I'm not getting into an argument, but an overtake here at Brands Hatch is difficult, and I think that was clean enough where the move was a fair one. I can also just see the safety car rolling onto track, so expect the safety car call at any point.
And that will therefore allow the cars to go faster than the delta speed of a full course yellow. The safety car is allowed to go at what are loosely called motorway speeds. So it also means that all the gaps disappear as well, and we get ready for the restart. So we go safety car. Safety car conditions now are enforced, and straight away everybody speeds up. As they come past the pits, the engine notes change, the cars go faster, and straight off warmth into the rubber becomes important. Still, the pit window will be delayed until we go back to green flag conditions. Doesn't matter whether it's a safety car or a full course yellow, the pit window will be delayed. What that means, of course, is if you've got your quicker driver for the second stint, they're going to make less difference because it's a shorter stint for them.
Yeah, but the cars are more bunched together,
yep.
So there's some good and some bad. That Lamborghini obviously out the way just enough and got enough clearance. I think so tight out the back there. Some actually the houses behind, which ironically complain about the noise here at Brands Hatch, even though they were built after the circuit. He's nearly in the back garden joining them for a Sunday roast.
So safety car on track, and race control confirmed there was contact between Gilles Magnus and Leonardo Moncini, and also Gilles Magnus breached a track limit there to complete the pass. So they are quite content with their decision. It's the stewards that apply the penalty. In fairness, race director worries about what's going on the track. In terms of anything judicial, that goes behind him to the stewards. They have a look at all the evidence. They've got more camera angles than we have, and that's the decision. And of course, were the race to have flowed, 10 seconds could have been overcome. Now they're all bunched up. That 10 seconds, certainly in the short term, is going to make more of an impact.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm a racing driver, not a race director, because I'm always going to have a different opinion and probably always be heavily biased in my comrades' favour. But yeah, that 10 seconds now almost kind of doubles in its weight because everyone has been bunched up. That 10 seconds would have lost him 5-6 places, and now at the moment it will probably lose him 14. So yeah, that is a rough rub of the green there for that Audi.
So safety car on track then, and it's going to do at least one complete lap. Bearing in mind it hasn't been a complete lap yet because it picks them up on Cooper Straight. The safety car emerges sort of behind the pits rather than out of the pit exit. But you can see how much faster they can go behind the safety car. The weaving around gets the pressures back up, gets the temperature back up, ready for a safer restart. So Mauro Engel leads the way. Chris Lallam in second place, Sandy Mitchell in third. That's Patrick Niederhauser in seventh. But irrespective of the pit window being delayed, when we do get to the pit window, it's going to be frantic in the pit lane.
Yeah, it's going to be really crazy. We've got 30 cars, every single garage here at Brands Hatch occupied. We're nearly at the capacity the circuit can hold, but we're already at capacity of what pit lane can hold. Look at the understeer in this Porsche. You can tell how much the front tyre temp has really dropped off in that, guys. Having to wang a load of lock on to get any rotation. Pace quickening under full course yellow. The lap times were 2 minutes 35. We're now down to a 2:06. So a full safety car lap will be under 2 minutes. So 40 seconds slower than full green. And we're hearing safety car will be in this lap. All cars have to carry on. They won't be able to pit, so they can't follow the safety car into the pit lane. But the following lap is going to be very, very busy.
So the safety car will be in this time then. We're going to go back racing. It'll be a frantic one-lap dash before you can come into the pit lane to serve that regulation stop. And we are just about at half distance, just a shade over, 30 minutes to go. Lights out on top of the safety car, which is the indication that it will be in this time. So Mauro Engel will know all about that. He'll be able to just slacken off the pace, let the safety car go. Mauro then controls it as he comes weaving his way down towards clearways. Remember, nobody can serve the regulation stop yet. They've got to go across the timing line once. And he's accelerated away now. So Engel steals a march over Chris Lallam, who in turn has got Sandy Mitchell behind him. But remember, you can't overtake until you cross the timing line. So Sandy Mitchell can tee up the move at Paddock, but he can't start it just yet. We're back racing again at Brands. Engel leads, Lallam second, Mitchell third. Neubauer now in the mix as well, fourth. Lappalainen fifth, and Linda sixth. Through Paddock Hill Bend they go, and Chris Lallam now in second spot has dropped away from Engel. All he can do before he brings the car to the pit lane is repel the challenge of Sandy Mitchell.
Yeah, not a good restart. 7/10 a second behind over the line from Lallam. He had a good first corner. He's made some of that time up, but that isn't what you need. You need to be glued on the rear bumper of the car. Engel almost sold him a dummy. He was still weaving, and then he gave it a boot full of throttle, and Lulham didn't react until we saw Engel getting smaller in the distance, by which time that reaction time is too slow.
Race leaders thunder their way down towards Hawthorns then. We are into the second half, as it were, and look at the gap Engel has got now. Chris Lulham is doing his best to go after him. Third, Mitchell. Fourth, Neubauer. There in 7th place, Patrick Niederhauser chasing after Kelvin van der Linde, the Endurance Cup opening winner at Paul Ricard, out of the right-hander of Hawthorns Daytona. That's Lucas Auer getting ready to take on board because the pit window is now open. So this lap you can pit, and it will still be that 10-minute window, just shifted back in the total time of the race. So the question is not who is going to pit, how many are going to pit, who stays out. Engel comes towards Clark Curve then, the leading Mercedes is in, Lulham is in, and Neubauer 4th stays out, and Lapalainen from 5th stays out, and I think also one of the McLarens was that Goethe, he stays out as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised Moore didn't stay out, Mitchell being one of them. I thought he'd be able to run. We have another car in the gravel. That's at turn 6 on the exit of Wessel. That's going to be another full course yellow. Are they going to try and get some of these cars to get their pit stop done? That is a very fast part. See Engel getting out and getting Auer in. Who's going to win this pit stop race? We saw a very fast pit stop from that red-orange BMW. Barwell finishing off. They got a new set of tyres as well. They've saved for Hugo Cook. Car's going to drop and release. They're early on in pit lane. I'm just watching now as the Winwood car clears it. The Valkenhurst Aston Martin, cleared. And look at WRT. That is a big jump forward for them.
And another slow stop for Thierry Vermeulen's Ferrari. He has hemorrhaged places. Look how many spots he's dropped coming out of the pit lane. So, as the cars now rejoin, that pit stop for the number 69 Ferrari, as he accelerates away, it's about 8 seconds slower than many. And you've got some side-by-side even coming out of the pit lane there. Number 26 Audi, Alvin Klemenko, just getting ahead of Simon Gachet. Now, yellow flags out on the Grand Prix part of the circuit with a car in the gravel. My suspicion would be that once everybody has made a pit stop, then that will be addressed. Okay, keep the yellow out, but at the moment, try and let everybody get the stops out of the way. Meanwhile, Neubauer and Lapalainen are 1st and 2nd. In comes Neubauer, in comes Lapalainen. Let's see where they feed back in. This could be a really good roll of the dice to do an extra lap at full speed.
You can see Neubauer at 50.4 kilometres an hour. They're right on the borderline, stopping in the box. He's already loosened his belts, and you can now see that 35 Aston Martin all over the back of Hugo Cook. They're slowing down for that yellow flag. You can't improve your sector time. They've all got GPS as well, going back to race control so they can see exactly the speed that's being doing. But it was a good stop from Winwood, and it looks like Auer has some good pace. Emil Fry on the sister car. It was a slow pit stop, wasn't it, for the sister car of Vermeulen? They lost nearly, 8 seconds in the pits.
Indeed, nearly 9 to the WRT BMW. Right, here come the Ferraris then, down the pit lane. Here comes Lucas Auer on the track. He's going to keep the lead, but the big winner is going to be Charles Wirtz in the BMW, number 32, up into 2nd position. So a really, really good stop as ever from WRT. So number 32 BMW, its pit stop 40.9 seconds. Big slide from the Boutsen VDS Mercedes AMG as it comes back on track. So we'll go through the order at the end of the next lap. As you can see, the Ferraris getting themselves together. Vermeulen is there just ahead of Alessio Rivera, who goes way wide into the weeds, coming out of Druids, gets up the inside of Aurelian Planis at Graham Hill Bend, runs the Mercedes out wide, takes the place.
Hope he doesn't get a penalty for that. Lucas Auer, purple sector 1, so that car is very, very quick. We still have that Porsche in the gravel trap as well. Remember, we still have 8 cars to pit, so there's going to be no full course yellow potentially for some time. A few more of them still coming in. How good are WRT at pit stops as we see Acker pitting with this dirty wing screen? Are they going to address it or are they going to leave it?
Well, let's see. It's not his problem anymore, is it? It's now the problem of the incoming driver, which is Ezequiel Perez Companc. So once the stops have all cycled through, then I suspect race control will address this drama of the gravel-bound Porsche 992, the Paradigm car, Maxi Musten to give way to Max Janssen. And as the tyres go on, the cars for the race lead go across the line. So now you've got Lucas Auer in the lead of the race, ahead of Charles Wirtz. 1.2 seconds is the gap between them. That is not much at all. And in silver, as out onto the circuit now goes Ezequiel Perez Companc after that slow lap for the number 10 Mercedes. That should put them up into the silver lead provisionally. Auer, absolute best in sector 1. He's going to be a really interesting second part of the race once the order is kind of stabilised, especially with Arthur Leclerc doing an absolute best in Sector 2.
Which has got a yellow flag out, so you shouldn't improve, but seeing a purple in Sector 2 with a yellow flag out may attract some attention from race control. They may investigate that. Of course, it's possible to slow down enough for the corner with the yellow, but to make that time up and do a purple is quite impressive.
And also Adam Smalley has done the fastest lap of the race. So Adam Smalley takes over number 58 McLaren from Louis Pret and has done the best lap of anybody. Jamie Day leads, but he's owing us a pit stop. Christian Bogle is third behind Jordan Pepper, but they all owe us the regulation stop. So the order will change again. We've got into the pit lane there, Jamie Day, and also coming in should be the Christian Bogle Lamborghini. So we're not far off having everybody to complete their regulation pit stops. Unsafe release being noted between our Faisal Al-Zubar's BMW and 26 Audi of Lawrence Leclerc. Race leader is just going out of shots as there. Lucas Auer comes by with Charles Weerts behind him. The gap's down 9/10 of a second. So Charles Weerts and the BMW is now getting closer to Lucas Auer. WRT, one of the more successful teams around here, with something like 7 wins between Audi and BMW days. But there could be another win as Weerts chases out. Sven Muller's Porsche has been a big winner on the stops. He's up to third now.
Yeah, great pit stop again from Rutronic. Bit of damage on the front of that Aston Martin. You can see the front right corner, bodywork just hanging off. Some fluid coming out the rear left as well. Normally a fuel breather, but no fuel added in these pit stops, so I couldn't tell you a logical reason why that's breathing some fluid, as we can see that McLaren get down the inside of the CSA. Garage 59 versus CA McLaren on McLaren. Smalley gets past Pla. We're seeing those incidents that you've mentioned, unsafe releases investigated. I saw it looked close, but looked okay to me, but we need to have a further investigation as Pla fights back on Smalley, who does have that fastest lap of the race.
That slow pit stop from Emil Frey, though, has put Thierry Vermeulen into 12th place now. So nearly 9 seconds lost to WRT. They've hemorrhaged places. And after a good first stint by Chris Lullen, Thierry Vermeulen now is the one with all the hard work to do. The lead gap looks like it's stretched again, does it not? Lucas Auer getting away from Charles Weerts as they come now down towards Clearways. This is the end of lap number 23. Jordan Pepper is the notional leader, but he still owes us a pit stop, as there is Vermeulen round the outside, coming through Clark Curve. He's certainly on the attack, isn't he, as they head up towards the line. Alessio Rivera he's fighting with, and the two Ferraris virtually dead set level as they come across the timing line. And there, as they go by, it is Vermeulen just ahead of Rivera by 17 thousandths, but Rivera is back through and he's wide at paddock. Vermeulen is on the attack. Same type of car, 2 different teams. Vermeulen on the outside, and the race one winning Rivera just fends him off.
Yeah, Rivera very fair, leaving space around the outside onto the defence there as well. It's hard when you're a factory driver, and I was at McLaren. The worst thing you could do was take a customer off, and I think Rivera is worried about that. Emil Frey, a Ferrari customer, of course. Rivera's teammate, Abril, race winner, alongside Rivera, looking on, looking nervous, but those cars that were so strong, not even inside the top 10 right now. Another big loser in the pit stop. Cook inherited the Lamborghini from Mitchell, didn't he? Bow Wow lost a wheel nut, we're hearing. So Sandy Mitchell not happy with their pit stop as well. 6 seconds slower than WRT. This was the leader because they hadn't done a pit stop. Jordan Pepper had been into the pits, but for a drive-through earlier in the race. That is the last car to serve its pit stop. After that's left, are we going to see a full course yellow?
Let's see. Here they come then down towards Clearways. Once the 63 Lamborghini has rejoined the pack, then I suspect the Isham Pires Porsche can be addressed. Fastest lap of the race, by the way, to the car in 27th. Arthur Rougier's McLaren has been able to get clear track space as Auer, Weerts, Green, Muller go through. Ben Green now up into 3rd place at the expense of Sven Muller's Porsche. So the Emil Frey Ferrari is 3rd. Full course yellow is coming. Full course yellow will be in just over 10 seconds time. There is Jordan Pepper back on track, or not Jordan Pepper, forgive me. It's now going to be that car in the hands of Luca Engschler. Full course yellow for the second time, and some respond better than others.
I mean, that was pretty dramatic for a slowing down period. Leclerc there, either slow to react or didn't see Muller slowing down as early as he did. And he had to take avoiding action there. And he's now slotted in, so he should be okay. But that must have been a wild ride. It took a load of dirt on the front split as it bounced across the dirt. And again, you can see these cars all close up. Everyone's aiming for 80, but they will be maximising every kilometre an hour they can. Is it going to be a short full course yellow without a safety car, or is it going to be the same procedure as the full course yellow into safety car pre-pit stop window?
Let us see, because the car well beached in the gravel, it'll be the same principle. You have to get that vehicle out there. You've got to attach the hoist to the roof, lift the car, get the car out of the gravel, get it out of harm's way, get the snatch vehicle back to a place of safety. The operation is already going on. As you can see, the marshals are quickly there, but it's going to be a lap or two. Teams discussing what's going on. AF Corsa discussing the overlap, I think, that we identified a moment ago. Right, just to quickly catch up on a few things. 19 minutes of the race remain, that's all. We're under full course yellow for this car being in the gravel. It happened a few laps ago, but the race direction team have let all the pit stops cycle through. Now they can address it. How did it get there? Well, it was courtesy of the McLaren number 112. That was the James Kell car. And off into the gravel was the number 97 Porsche of Isham Piris. His race run. Luc Hartog denied a run in that car. They've had a tough day, winning on the road and then a penalty in race 1 and retirement in race 2. This is 111 McLaren, Jim Pla, alongside the Audi heading down the pit lane. They clash. They are still side by side at the other side. That's being looked at by race control, by the way, for an unsafe release. 26, so Laurence Lesetua, there was the Audi. But yes, that's being addressed, as you can imagine. The Audi ahead on track, but it's what they were doing in the pit lane that's the greater concern.
Yeah, they're actually pit box neighbours, so I think Santalot would have been in the fast lane first, so they had the chance to be there. So I think the Audi was the innocent party on that one. I also think the Porsche in the gravel was the innocent one out of the clash between him and Kel. Let's have a look at this. So we're about to get full course yellow, so we can't see their display, but they'll be getting full course yellow in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sven Muller gets on the brakes, and Leclerc had to take avoiding action there and just was, I think Leclerc was a bit late to slow down rather than the other one. Let's listen in and see what Leclerc was saying to AF, of course, about that.
It's over 2Q under full course yellow. Can you confirm this message or we open a protest?
Yeah, I think so, because when you tell me full course yellow, he broke way too early, and then after he accelerated again just to overtake me.
Well, the Porsche had certainly hit the brakes because of the full course yellow. Arthur Leclerc had to dodge round him, and the Porsche retook its place. So that, if they're thinking about a protest, seems doomed. But anyway, we'll await news from that. So right now, Lucas Auer leads from Charles Wirtz. Ben Green runs third, Sven Muller fourth, Arthur Leclerc fifth, Marvin Kirchhoff's McLaren is sixth, Hugo Cook seventh, Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, BMW eighth, Mathieu Villagomez, Aston Martin ninth, Paul Everett Audi is in 10th place. 16 3/4 minutes of the race to go, so it's going to be a real harem-scarum last few minutes of the race, isn't it, as the cars now are under full course yellow, the slower speed, while the marshals work on the Porsche over in the gravel at Westfield. We may have a safety car, of course, to bring them back up to speed and then let them go. Safety cars can breed safety cars, so it's going to be really frantic. Do not be surprised if we don't have a bit more hip and shoulder as people try and get through the pack.
Yeah, and the Porsche that was in the gravel now out of shot. Are we going to go safety car or are we going to go back to green? It's right borderline either way. I hope we just go back to green, in all honesty, just so we get more race laps. The safety car would bunch them up though, so it's not a bad one. Look at those win and gains. WRT with 5 places gained reverse, and then 11 with Al-Zubair, and that is down to fast pit stops.
Mauro Engel looking on from the pit wall as Charles Wirtz then second place. He loses out a little bit because the margin had opened up with the call of full course yellow. He'd like a safety car to get right back onto the tail of Lucas Auer there, number 99. That is Ezequiel Perez Compact, still second in silver, still with the dirty windscreen as well, so visibility has got no better for him, and it's still the back of the number 10 Mercedes that is visible out the front. Cars now go through the left-hander of Sterling's, and WRT's pit crew for number 32, the fastest pit stop team of the day, so they've just won the pit stop challenge. Safety car deployed, as you saw on the graphic. That means the pace quickens, and we'll have certainly 1 lap behind the safety car before we get things back underway.
Yeah, WRT the only team doing a pit stop in under 40 seconds. That's the stopping and also driving all the way through the pit lane element of that. So super impressive there, and just to put some scale on it, they're 3 seconds quicker than anyone in the top 6. As we look at AWS top speed through this corner, we're looking at Chris Lulham, the fastest, 159 kilometers an hour, 2 kilometers an hour quicker than the McLaren from CSF, Rougier from Moulin in the Lamborghini, which is no longer in the race because it's in the gravel trap. at Sheen Corner. So, yeah, fast at turn 1 doesn't mean you're going to get a good result, unfortunately.
Yeah, quick in doesn't necessarily mean quick out, does it, I guess? There's all that gravel in the way. Lucas Howe leads Charles Wirtz. We have 14 minutes of the race to go. Safety car on track, bringing everybody back up to speed, back up to temperature. And when the lights go out, we will be ready to go. Let us see. Safety car comes through Hawthorne. There you've got Sven Muller in number 96 Porsche. We've seen him in British GT this season. British GT comes to Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit in August. Our next stop for GT World Challenge Europe is Zandvoort in 2 weeks' time. And with GT4 there as well for some really good racing. Come along and join us, why not? Tickets are on sale. If you've never been to a World Challenge event, then we heartily recommend, whether it's sprint or endurance. And of course, at the end of June, it is the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, which is just a mega weekend. So I know there are lots of 24-hour races these days. Spa, very, very special indeed. And again, if you've never been, first of all, why not? But you really would enjoy it. So have a think, come and join. Right, safety car heads to Clearways. Lights are still on. So one more lap, presumably behind the safety car, as Christopher Campbell, the Belgian driver who controls the safety car, hustles it up towards Clark Curve, the Maserati, the official partner with SRO this year of the official cars. In other words, the safety car, the lead car, and over the line they go. That now puts 27 laps in the book and just over 13 minutes of the race remaining. So like I say, it's going to be a real mad dash to the flag. Very different second race from the first, which was quite calm in comparison, but these couple of cars off into the gravel bed and the leaders go over the timing line now through they turn up towards Druids. Lap 28 we start. Auer, Wirtz, Green, Muller, Leclerc, Kirchhoff and the top 6. So through they all go, and as they do so, the BMW there of our Faisal Al-Zubair now leads gold. Now that's at the expense of Thierry Vermeulen's Red Bull Ferrari that's fallen to third in class behind the Audi of Paul Everard. So that really slow stop, I'm afraid, for Emile Frey has done for them, good and proper.
Yeah, it really has. It's amazing in these sprint races. They're so compact. The hour evaporates upon you, and any small mistake from driver or team just means that a decent result is out the window. Likewise, the team can really make a difference. And we saw this Lamborghini looking strong as we go on board now with Hugo Cook. You can see the safety car panel, the driver display panel flashing, safety car there. And then you've got the main dash there. You've got the rev lights that will all illuminate when to shift up. You also have ABS lights, so you can see them flicking away as he gets going. He's frantically getting these tyres hot because the safety car is about to come in and this race is about to ignite. There's a huge amount of information for drivers and it's about to get frantic as we go back to green.
Here they come then, safety car in this time. That will give us just over 11 minutes of the race to go. You saw what Mauro Engel did early on with the restart. Now it's up to Lucas Auer, who does it at pretty much the same place. Get to Clearways, floor the throttle, bring the car out of Clark Curve, and Charles Wirtz goes after him in the BMW. But winners here last year, Lucas Auer, Mauro Engel are leading as they go up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Wirtz second, third is Green, Muller fourth, Leclerc fifth, Kirchhoff for sixth. Out of Paddock they go, and Lucas Auer tries now to build that gap once again. Charles Wirtz going after him in second place, bearing in mind that car started seventh, so it shows the importance of good pit stops, countered by Thierry Vermeulen's race having unravelled with that slow pit stop. He is on the tail though now of Alessio Rivera, the race one winning Ferrari number 51. Really struggled to make progress in this race, whether it was on track or in the pits, in fairness. Up towards Surtees they go, and we are just heading towards 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, Leclerc looking racy, had a bit of a lunge to the inside, didn't get the move done, but he looks fast. Kirchhoff is sat on the bumper in that Garage 59 car. Here's Vermeulen, who led the whole of the opening stint all the way down in 12th position behind that race-winning car. This is how competitive this championship is. As soon as you have one chink in your armour, that is the result gone, like we have said. And they're behind Everard, who is second in the gold class. You can see a bit of damage on the front of that car. Obviously, it was involved in that incident in stint one. So some of these cars getting roughed up a bit, and you find that in race two. The drivers know the next thing for these cars is going back in the race truck. They're not needed again for a few weeks. So a bit of bodywork damage is acceptable suddenly.
Repair time.
Exactly.
Just under a fortnight. Lucas Auer up towards the line. 29 laps are done into the last 10 minutes. And Charles Wirtz is not being able to go after him particularly. In third place, Ben Green, stabilising that gap over Sven Muller. looking to see who then is on a mission a little bit further down. Silver, it's still Panis versus Compact. Gap comes down second to third, under braking. Ben Green right under the rear wing of the BMW of Charles Wirtz, the Team WRT car. Blast out the hairpin. Downhill, go left. Wirtz uses the curb on the inside, as does Green. That spits the Ferrari across the road, but he keeps one wheel in contact with the white line, so all is good for track limits. Through Surtees they go. There is the badly delayed Thierry Vermeulen, and still behind him it is Aurelien Panis, which means that Panis is leading Silver, still ahead of Ezequiel Perez Compact.
We've got the classes quite close together, actually, haven't we? The silver class especially. Perez Compact on the back of Panis as we see him come into the background of that shot. Vermeulen hustling the car through, unable to make any progress on Rivera in front. We saw them side by side before the last safety car period, but at the moment Vermeulen can't do it. It's actually Rivera trying to get down the inside of Everard's Audi there. It's a difficult move to get done. He's trying to stay as close as he can, getting the headlights flashing, trying to distract the car in front as we look at Panis, that silver class leader. Mercedes so compliant over the bumps there. Looks like a lovely car to drive around this Brands Hatch GP circuit.
I think Lucas Auer would agree, because he's just done an absolute best in the middle sector, the race leader, proving that he has still got pace. Actually, quite a lot of people all of a sudden doing personal best laps and personal best sectors. Lucas Auer, fastest lap of the race then, as he stretches the margin to 1.5 seconds over Charles Wirtz. Maybe having from the tyres a little bit of recovery time. Now he feels confident to push, but he's well clear of Wirtz dropping downhill, and Charles Wirtz in turn is getting away from Ben Green. Here's the silver battle. As far as Ezequiel Perez Compact is concerned, he could barely get closer to the Mercedes, and the trouble for Aurelien Panis is he's stuck because he's absolutely in a queue of cars, so he can't get away because of all the traffic ahead of him.
Yep, he's getting held up by Vermeulen, who in turn is getting held up by Rivera, who's then getting held up by Everett, who's then getting held up by Villagomez in the Aston Martin. So actually on board here on the 99 car, we can't even see who's causing this traffic jam, but all we are concentrated on for Perez Compact is getting past that Mercedes in front to try and get the silver class lead. He's able to stay through, more dust to add to the detritus on the windscreen. Misses the curb a bit there, so I expect the Mercedes to pull away down this short, sharp straight. Ben Green on the flashes, trying to disrupt Charles Wirtz in that second place BMW.
And then trying to think about making a move. The dust kicked up by Thierry Vermeulen settles just about in the face of others behind him from earlier in the lap. And down towards Clearways comes the BMW Ferrari fight for second place. There going through is Alessio Rivera, still in 11th as the second and third place cars go up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Wirtz to Green is 0.489 of a second. Lucas Auer is 1.8 seconds up the road. He is driving away now to secure the win. 7 minutes to go. What's going on in silver? It's still Panis from Compact. That's the answer, as there a cheeky look on the inside going into the braking zone. That was Paul Everard against Mathieu Gomez for 9th overall. Didn't work for Everard. He needs to get past the Aston though. Then he can go after Al-Faisal Al-Zubair for the Gold Cup win.
Yeah, exactly that. I think there's going to be some growing frustrations. The drivers will be counting down the laps to go. We've potentially only got 3 to go at the end of this lap. Are we going to see some contact to make the door open? The race director, Neil Fish, has been pretty strict so far. The drivers will be under instruction, but when you've got to roll the dice, sometimes it's worth the gamble, and that's what we're going to start to see, I think, in this remaining 6 minutes of the race.
And as you look here at the Gold Cup situation of Faisal Al-Zubair, still leading Paul Everard, still leading Thierry Vermeulen, and a challenge is about to come potentially there up the inside. That's Rivera having a look to get past Paul Everard. Audi stays ahead of Ferrari, but only just. Heading towards Sterling's now, that left-hander. We've got a number of cars being looked at for their full course yellow procedure, the first full course yellow. One of them is Arthur Leclerc, who is in 5th. The other is Ben Green, Ferrari, 3rd. So this is a story that may rumble on, and the other car of note is the silver leading number 10 Mercedes. So the first full course yellow procedure has been noted for a number of cars. That story may well rumble on. Meanwhile, 5.5 minutes to go. Lucas Auer, 1.6 seconds to the good. Look at this traffic jam that is currently for 9th place. Villagomez, Everard, Rivera, Vermeulen, Panis, Compact, all in a line. Leader getting away.
Yeah, Villagomez looks like the rear of the car is starting to drop away. He's having bigger and bigger slides. He's struggling to get to the apex. That green and black Aston Martin I'm talking about there, holding up this pack. Looks like the Audi's pretty strong in Sector 1, and then the Ferrari suddenly in Sector 2 becomes alive. And we're seeing Ben Green in that first Ferrari, 3rd overall. Can he do anything? Kirchhofer, that car I thought was going to be stronger in this race. He's really been bunched up after a poor start, really, from Benji Goth, where the rear of the car looked very loosening on that opening lap.
So as the race leaders come up through Sheen Curve, bouncing over the curb, Alessio Rivera, he's found race 2 a heck of a lot tougher than race 1, hasn't he? Mired in the pack, 11th place, and can't get past the Audi. The Audi, a venerable car these days, but Paul Everard's Santaloc entry has gone really nicely. Everard and Gilles Magnus, bearing in mind that they've got that 10-second penalty to factor in. We'll worry about that at the end of the race. The Mustang goes through, Josefo Vega at the wheel of it, ahead of the car that won in silver in race 1, Marcus Siebert. So a change of place on that lap between the two. 4 minutes on the clock now as the leaders go by. Lucas Auer is being caught again by Charles Weert, who's just done an absolute best in the last sector. Charles Weert's having one last push. Hugo Cook 7th goes up the hill. That's your Gold Cup leader. Al Faisal Al Zubair, the Dubai 24 Hours winner, goes out of the hairpin, drops down the hill. And that BMW actually is a bit in no man's land. It is not being caught particularly, it's not catching, but it's on for a class win. And Paul Everard and Gilles Magnus, you know, I mentioned that time penalty. They did not serve it, apparently, in the pit stop. They may have expected it to be done at the end of the race. They didn't serve it in the pits. That's under investigation.
So that car that's battling so hard is almost academic. It shouldn't be there. So that'll be a big frustration for Rivera, who is still in 11th place. We've got 8 different manufacturers out of the 10 represented in the top 10. That shows you how competitive this series has been and how good the BOP has become already this early into the season. And it's given us some great tight racing, and it's hard to call which car has got the strengths everywhere because the actual way they're generating the lap time is so close. Going back to Al Zubair, the Omani, one of the nicest guys in motorsport, has had a relatively quiet stint. A great pit stop from WRT on that car, the fastest pit stop out of anyone, has really helped them, but a very, very strong job from him and his teammate Klinsmann.
And here is Compact, still pushing to try to get past Aurelien Panis. Mauro Engel with everything crossed, looks on. Going to have to do that for another 2 laps, maybe 3. As the leader is only 11 tenths up the road now. Charles Weert's chipping away, but you get the feeling Lucas Auer's got it all under control. There he is in the Mercedes, the Austrian driver coming along Cooper Straight, still being chased hard by Weert. And a 10-second time penalty added to number 25 for failing to serve the time penalty. So does that mean an extra 10 seconds? I assume it does.
It must do, mustn't it? Otherwise it's not another penalty. He's very wide there. This is going to give Rivera a chance to get a run onto the back straight. He's not close enough, though, to really get in the pocket of air for the slipstream to be at its most efficient, and actually he hasn't gone. So although Everard was very wide, he's still got a very strong exit out onto the fastest point of the Brands GP circuit, so looks like you're able to hold on to that position so far. And yes, we're going to squeeze 2 more laps out of this race. Is it going to be a trend, or is Auer just managing what he's got track limit wise? He's only used 2 of his 6 lives, so he's a-okay on that front.
Quicker in both of the first 2 sectors of this lap as well, Lucas Auer, as he continues to build that gap. Interestingly though, Charles Weerts has shaken off Ben Green. They were together on the restart, 0.6 of a second last time, and this time as they come through 1.7. So Ben Green's had a bad lap in comparison. Those ahead are 23, a 24. He's done a 25, and Hugo Cook has just done a personal best lap in the 123s as well. But Ben Green did lose a big chunk of time on that last lap.
Yeah, fair play to Hugo Cook. Faster lap than Sandy Mitchell. Yes, the fuel load's lower, but experience level, that's a mighty lap there. I thought Ben Green looked like he had a problem. He looked really tentative into Druid. Same again, Sven Muller. Remember, these cars swapped position before the last safety car on pace. So has Ben Green got a problem? Has he used the tyre too hard? I would be surprised at that latter comment as we go on board with Leclerc, who has been hounding Sven Muller in that Porsche in front, but a bit too far behind at the moment. And what you need to be is right on the bumper, just in case there's a mistake and you could just slip down the inside and claim that position. Ben Green really wide there. 2 places lost, maybe 3 to Kirchhofer behind us as well. He keeps out the wall, but that car suddenly looked like it lost a load of pace on the last lap, and this one, it has really hit home.
And he's going to lose another place because now Marvin Kirchhofer is right up behind him. And that Ferrari, if it's struggling, I wonder whether it's a tyre going down because he's lost time, he's now lost places, the car didn't want to turn, it can't really retaliate, but Kirchhofer actually does lose a length or so coming down towards clearways. Through goes Auer, and less than a lap time left in the race. So last lap underway, Auer, Weert, and up into 3rd place now, Sven Muller. Fourth is Leclerc. Down to fifth, Ben Green. Sixth, Marvin Kirchhofer. Ben Green has got to try to nurse that car home. Still leading gold is Al-Faisal Al-Zubar. Still leading silver is Aurelian Panis as the train of cars thunders over the line. As they come through paddock, the leader is on Cooper Straight. And 51, which is Alessio Rivera, leaving the track at turn 3 and gaining an advantage, has been noted by race control. So what we have crossing the line may not necessarily be the final result. There's a lot for the stewards to unpack come the end of the race. There's a long Cooper Straight for the last time they come. Going to Surtees then. Lucas Auer, 1.6 seconds clear going on to the last lap. And this is the replay from on board after Leclerc's car. Have a look up the road ahead. Ben Green turns in, but the car does not like the corner, just runs wide onto the dirt at Hawthorns, into Westfield, turns again, and it just cannot make the apex.
Yeah, he got too greedy on the apex curve. I think he took too much of it and it just flung him in the air. We see cars going the wall all the time there, and then he shuts the door on Kirchhofer. I actually think Kirchhofer could have sent it down the inside. He had the speed, but he didn't know whether to go left, right, or through the back of Ben Green.
One more corner to go for Lucas Auer, then it is going to be a win at Brands Hatch as it was last year. The reigning Sprint Cup champions, Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer for Winward Racing for Mercedes-AMG win race 2 at Brands Hatch. Charles Weerts takes second place along with Calvin van der Linde, and third to Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser. There, the BMW Al-Faisal Al-Zubar, Jens Klingmann wins gold, and silver goes the way of the Butson VDS Mercedes of Aurelian Panis and Cesar Gazo at the end of a race-long battle with number 99 Audi. They were together, I think, from the off, but for Winward Racing, we were worried about the pace. Well, the team pretty content with that result, and big smiles at Team WRT with a class win in gold, second overall. Calvin van der Linde very happy with all of that.
Yeah, that was a topsy-turvy race, and the overall podium completely different to race 1. That hasn't happened in our previous 9 visits to Brands Hatch, so really shows you what the pit stops did because of those safety cars bunching the field up. Fair play to Winward Racing. Yes, they were on pole position. I did not think they were going to have the pace to hold on to that. But great stints from Engel at the start, then Lucas Auer, who was very quick at times. Great restart from both of them. Engel very happy with that. They've started the season pretty strong on a defensive campaign, obviously.
And there's a very grumpy Thierry Vermeulen storming his way back to the pit lane. Big frustration after that slow pit stop when they lost the best part of 9 seconds to the WRT BMW. And, of course, others with quicker stops jumped ahead as well. So Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel are our race 2 winners at Brands Hatch, from Charles Weerts and Calvin van der Linde, with Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser taking third. Arthur Leclerc fourth with the help of Thomas Neubauer. From Ben Green and Constable Apolainen, Marvin Kirchhofer and Benjamin Goethe sixth. Hugo Cook, Sandy Mitchell taking 7th place, 8th going the way of Al-Faisal Al-Zubar and Jens Klingmann, as does the Gold Cup win. 9th, Mathieu Villagomez and Enrique Chavez. And 10th, the race 1 winners, Alessio Rivera and Vincent Abril. And only 11th, Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lallam. 12th, the Silver Cup winners, Aurelian Panis and Cesar Gazo. So some really good racing, some really interesting battles, some good drives, and Lucas Auer, Mauro Engel taking that win. Mercedes-AMG from BMW, from Porsche in Pro. In gold, it was BMW from Ferrari, Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lallam taking second in gold, and third, Sebastian Ugard and Leonardo Mancini. Silver, that was Audi, by the way. Silver was Mercedes ahead of Audi. So the cars make their way to the pit lane. The fans at Brands Hatch still with more action to enjoy. Still 2 more support races, as there Jens Klingmann celebrates a gold win, waits for his co-driver Al-Faisal Al-Zubar to bring the BMW towards them. The trophy's all there. The winning parking slots, if you like, for the podium-required cars are there, and frustration for some of the teams, including, for example, Barwell, with the car having had that slow pit stop with the lost wheel nut. So as the drivers come down the pit lane, the Lamborghini with, in the end, 7th place over the line for Hugo Cook and Sandy Mitchell, but it could have been a different story but for that slow pit stop. But no such dramas for the Winward Mercedes. Great effort for Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer. Mauro did much of the hard work in a sense in qualifying, getting the car onto pole position. He controlled the pace through that stint, and Lucas Auer, just to make the point that the car, that he has pace, did the fastest lap as well on lap 30 of 37, released after that second safety car period. And you can see what that means to the reigning champs. Very happy Mauro Engel. Lucas Sauer not even being given time to take off his crash helmet before everyone wants to go and celebrate. The Winwood team with a very German influence, but American by origin, and looking as though it's going to be a force to be reckoned with, certainly in Sprint Cup. How about that for Team WRT? Al-Faisal Al-Zubair and Jens Klingman celebrating a category win. And another Mercedes AMG victory in silver for Boots and VDS.
Yeah, really good, and you can see the drivers will acknowledge the team because, like I said earlier, the fastest pit stop out of all 30 cars there. The WRT team have always been strong, and it is all in the pre-season. It isn't just the practice of it, it's refining the wheel guns, the wheel hubs. There's so much the teams are doing to optimize these pit stops.
Let's hear from our race winners, because Lucas Sauer and Maro Engel are victorious at Brands Hatch, and they're with Bryn Lucas.
Let's start with you, Maro. We said before the race there, breaking glass is good luck for you. You'll be breaking glass at every round from now on.
Yeah, it did bring us good luck, as the term says in Germany. Big thanks to the team and to Lugi. Fantastic job and great to get this win here. I think it's my third or fourth in Brands Hatch. Just absolutely love coming here, and yeah, big thanks to them.
Huge congratulations, Lucas. I mean, it was a great drive from yourself there. You had your work cut out really with the full course yellows, the safety car coming out a couple of times as well, and the gap only around a second.
Yes, it was a very tough race. In fact, it was a very tough weekend, but huge congrats and thanks to Maro, to the team. They did amazing on a weekend where it was really tough for us, so I'm very proud.
Well done. Congratulations both. Great weekend.
Thank you.
And two very happy drivers, a very happy team as well. We'll hear from our gold and silver victors, no doubt, as well. For the Manfilter team, carrying on where they left off last year. Sprint Cup champions, overall champions, because although we have Sprint, we have Endurance, we have that combined championship as well. And they won that. The Endurance Cup went to Alessandro Piaguidi, Alessio Rivera last year, but could it be back-to-back Sprint Cup titles? Well, we'll find out. Good start from Lucas Sauer and Maro Engel. Championship standings will be interesting. Let's go back to the pits and hear about gold.
Well, Jens, it goes quite well, doesn't it, for you guys there? I mean, you had an 8th overall, but taking that gold victory is very important to get the season up and running in round 2.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. This morning we didn't think we had the pace to win, but ultimately it's the teamwork, and I think we showed today with our pit stops that the crew is really the best in business, and it's been a pleasure to working with them. And then Faisal, he brought it home, so I just took it basically to the pits, and from there on everything went by itself, and then it was a great job. So hopefully we can keep it up, yeah.
Pit stops in WRT are very impressive, but so was the performance as well. Like you say, pit stops is one part, but what you do on track is another.
Yeah, no, definitely, for sure you have to qualify well and be in the race, but like we saw today, I think we went from 16th to 8th overall. You hear that WRT are the best in pit stops, and now we see proof firsthand at least, so yeah, just over the moon.
Happy faces, job well done.
Thank you.
Less happy faces, I'm afraid, for Boots and VDS. They've just lost their Silver Cup win. The amended result has given Alex Arca and Ezequiel Perez-Companc silver honours, with the penalties being applied. So the number 10 Boots and VDS Mercedes that was being looked at for an earlier infringement, that has lost its class win. Other penalties have been applied. We'll come to the confirmed result as soon as we can. But a change for silver honours then. Ezequiel Perez-Companc, Alex Arca, the winners from Lawrence Leclerc and Ivan Klimenko, and then third in silver now become Kobe Pavels and Jamie Day for ComTU. So the class winners, number 99 Audi, Ezequiel Perez-Companc and Alex Arca. They never found a way through, but on corrected times it all worked in their favour.
Yeah, some other interesting penalties outside of podium results, but Arthur Leclerc all the way down to 25th now. So that must have been that full course yellow infringement we saw, and another penalty as well for Ben Green. So he's now down to 10th position. So that's really shaken up the order there. So the penalties are coming through thick and fast, and it was a frantic race, and it continues to be frantic after the checkered flag.
Yeah, it's pretty busy in race control, isn't it? Let's hear from our inherited silver winners, if you like, with Bryn.
Well, Alex, you started it all off in the car there. Who knew what was going to happen out here today? But it was lively.
Yeah, it was tough. But in the end of the day, you know, it's Brands Hatch. You never know what's going to happen next corner. Yeah, at some point I had so much dust on the windscreen, so I couldn't see anything. Yeah, but this is also Brands Hatch, so it was fun. And yeah, thanks a lot to Ezequiel bringing it home to the entire team. So mega job, and thank you guys also at home. We keep up the 4 rings, so let's fight.
Certainly do. Racing always comes down to the very end. You have to keep going, and this proved the point.
Yeah, I think first of all I want to say thanks for the opportunity. You know, I think Tresor Attempto gave me a massive opportunity for this year, and I'm really happy to be here with the team, helping them as I can. And yeah, to be P1 in the third race with them is amazing. So yeah, really happy for the team, really happy for everybody, and yeah, we will be stronger throughout the rest of the season.
Party time. Good luck. Thank you.
So very happy Ezequiel Perez-Companc, and inheriting the win. The faces of Cesar Gazo, Aurelian Panis will be rather less cheerful, that is for sure. So the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit giving, as ever, plenty of drama. And Lucas Auer, Maro Engel, pole, win, fastest lap. Makes it sound easy, but it was far from. What a race. Race 2 began with Maro Engel from pole position storming away into the race lead in the Man Filter Mercedes as the battle raged on behind. A good start by Sandy Mitchell, putting him up on the inside of the Chris Lullum Ferrari, but later in the lap Lullum was able to fight back, the two of them going toe-to-toe from Druid to Graham Hill Bend and towards Surtees as everybody tried to find track position early on. Lullum diving back through on the inside at Graham Hill Bend. That retook second place for him. And Sandy Mitchell was then stuck, try as he might, he just could not find a way through as Jordan Pepper dispensed with James Kell and got a drive-through penalty for his pains. Then the number 112 McLaren, Arthur Rougier at the wheel, got involved with Eshan Pieris, and that was fired off into the gravel, but ultimately would trigger a full course yellow into a safety car. Bad pit stop for Barwell when they dropped a wheel nut, and this pit stop unsafe release was being looked at by race control. On track, another full course yellow called, and scampering off in avoidance was number 50 of Arthur Leclerc. Green flag flew to get the race underway once again. Lucas Auer able to build that gap and control the pace to the end. Off the road went Ben Green. He also picked up a penalty at the end, and that car plunged down the order. So, a win for the reigning champions. Up towards the checkered flag came Lucas Auer. From pole, the win, and the fastest lap as Lucas Auer and Maro Engel won race 2 at Brands Hatch. So the podium awaits for the winning teams, and we've got, gosh, a long, long list of cars now being looked at for a yellow flag procedure. It feels like half the grid has just appeared as a line of numbers, but we'll keep an eye on that. One of them is the Silver Cup winning car. He checks to make sure that 48, the winner, isn't in that list. Don't think it is. So a lot still to be looked at by race control. This is the story that keeps on giving, isn't it?
Yeah, you've always been a frustrated bingo caller. There's your chance there. Looks like there's 13 cars or so. Yeah, there's some mixing up to go, and it's been a hard race. And we said race control was busy. It continues to continue with that trend.
Absolutely, yeah. They're not going anywhere in a hurry, the officials upstairs, that's for sure. So 2 races at Brands Hatch. Mercedes-AMG is ahead in the Manufacturer Cup in the Global GT World Challenge from BMW and Porsche 3rd, Ferrari 4th, Audi is 5th. But after a win for Ferrari in race 1, a win for Mercedes-AMG in race 2 here at Brands Hatch, those European points helping in the global competition. Well done, Mercedes-AMG. So Lucas Auer, Maro Engel taking that victory, and doing so in style. And the cars to head next in the championship to Zandvoort, our next endurance race, Monza, at the end of May into the 1st of June, the Sunday. And then, of course, after that, the next endurance race will be the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. So building up towards the Blue Ribbon event within GT World Challenge Europe. Right now, the teams await drivers at the foot of the podium. And in a moment, I think the first winners will be called forward. And there, Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser make their way on to the podium. Victorious in the fight over Ferrari for 3rd place. For 2nd place, out Cam Schalwitz and Kelvin van der Linde for Team WRT. And then the top step will go the way of Lucas Auer and Maro Engel. Winward Racing, the Manfilter Mercedes-AMG team, take race 2 honours here at Brands Hatch. Mauro Engel for Lucas Auer. The national anthem of the winning team plays, and a happy crew, that is for sure. So for trophies, Steve Rouse from Pirelli onto the podium and presents to Sven Muller, Patrick Niederhauser for third place, to the second place drivers Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde, adding a second place in this race to a win in Endurance Cup. So good overall championship points there. And then the winning team is Winwood Racing, and then the biggest trophies of the lot will go the way of Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel. Mauro, having tried for so long to win the Sprint Cup, did it last year. And you don't bet against him and Lucas Auer doing back-to-back titles the way that they've gone this weekend. Great job done by Winwood Racing, by Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer, who win race 2 of the weekend at Brands Hatch this opening weekend in GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. And the story continues at Zandvoort in Holland in 2 weeks' time. Very happy Mauro Engel with Lucas Auer, and the winning team celebrates here on the podium at Brands Hatch. So Ferrari and Mercedes AMG split the outright wins between them. Teams in the pit lane awaiting the next podium ceremonies. Vincent Voss there with the flat cap on the left as you look, with his phone in his hand, already sending the results to around the globe. Yves Weerts with the grey hair towering over everybody else there, Charles' father, and one of the owners of WRT, the Weerts Group company, and a team, of course, that runs BMWs in GT3, but also BMWs in hypercar regulations. And it's been a new and very successful partnership with BMW. Right, for gold, the drivers come forward, and Leonardo Moncini and Sebastian Ugard take third place, as they did in race 1. Second place, Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lallam. And then the top step will go the way of Alfaisal Al-Zubair and Jens Klingman, again from Team WRT. Good result, that is for sure. Out come the drivers then. Jens Klingman, Alfaisal Al-Zubair for BMW, for Team WRT, victorious in the Gold Cup here at Brands. The Emil Frey Racing team left wondering what might have been but for that Pox pit stop, but I'm afraid it did cost them dear, didn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't very Swiss clockwork-like, was it, from that team? So they'll go back to base, they'll see if they can improve the car for the pit stop, or is it just some hard graft? They need to get the mechanics in a few days during the week extra just to practice that procedure and get that time down and try and get close to WRT's expertise in that instance.
So trophies presented then, and the winners' trophies go the way of Alfaisal Al-Zubair and Jens Klingman, who won, of course, as part of that bronze team in the Endurance Cup at Monza last year, that great strategic win for WRT. So drivers on the Brands Hatch podium for gold, and silver is the podium that awaits to complete the ceremony here. The soundtrack of which is going to be accompanied by a classic sports car race that's just begun, where Lotuses, AC Cobras, TVRs and MGs aplenty all do battle. Champagne everywhere, and Chris Lallam and Thierry Vermeulen, I've got to say, their pace was pretty decent. It was just the amount of time lost in the pits that did for them.
Yeah, I think they're going to be very strong over the year, and that's reflected in the standings.
It is indeed. Chris Lullam and Thierry Vermeulen ahead, with Jens Klingman, Alfaz Alzubar second, Sebastian Newgaard, Leonardo Moncini. Good solid day. That couple of third places in class. But yeah, Chris Lullam, Thierry Vermeulen certainly have put down a marker. They've got pace, and don't ignore them for outright successes.
Yeah, I think that's the impressive nature of that gold lineup, is they're going to be challenging overall more and more as the season goes on. I think Lullam is going to get quicker and quicker too, so that is only going to strengthen as a pairing as the season matures.
True enough. And the silver podium, which of course had that post-checkered flag shuffle to the result, will be next. This is the overall classification, by the way, now taking the positions for outright and the points awarded there. Lucas Auer, Maro Engel leave as the championship leaders from Benjamin Goethe, Marvin Kirchhofer, and that not so good second race mean that Vincent Abril and Alessio Rivera's race 1 win kind of helps them, but they're only third from Calvin van der Linde and Charles Weerts, with Vermeulen and Lullam fifth ahead of Sven Müller and Patrick Niederhauser in sixth. So the reigning Sprint Cup champions are the Sprint Cup championship leaders at the end of event 1.
Tight to call though, isn't it? Like the Garage 59 car kind of under the radar, but only 2.5 points off the championship lead after this first sprint weekend. So I'm excited looking at that, because you've got 5-6 cars from 5 different manufacturers straight away with a good chance of a championship still after one round.
Zandvoort, another interesting circuit with the banked corners that will be at in a fortnight's time, and a chance to see which of the good, strong brands around there. But as far as today is concerned, Ferrari and Mercedes, AMG and Audi, because a class win in silver for the Attempto team, going the way of Alex Arca and Ezequiel Perez Companc. So they're the winning Mercedes, AMG down to the pit lane. Such a well-developed car, and it always looks an easy car to drive. I'm sure behind the wheel it's you know, always a challenge, always a handful, but it just seems to be a compliant race car.
Yeah, it's always in a window, isn't it? That's how it seems. It's one of the few GT3 cars I've not driven, and I'm jealous of a driver that gets to drive such a well-balanced car. You're right, though. When you watch the onboard, it never looks dramatic. Of course, it's hard then to extract the last few tenths out, because if the first bit's easy, the last bit's even harder, and then it will still bite you. Physics still at play, although the Mercedes does seem to bend it at times with the mid-corner speed at high speed especially is super impressive from that car. But not a scratch on that car either, so that shows you what a clean race they've had.
Right, drivers being rounded up for the silver podium, all discussing their races, and can't be too far away from getting the drivers forward onto the podium itself. The Brands Hatch marshalling force enjoying their weekend, and the pit marshals are going to be busy again, because the race that's on at the moment, the Classic Sports Car Equipe Libre race, has mandatory pit stops in its 40-minute duration. So they're the Tresor Attempto team, ready to cheer its drivers once they get to the podium. But proving that there's life in the Audi, competitive car in the right hands if run by the right team. And Tresor Attempto, and indeed Santalok, now years and years and years of experience of how to operate those cars.
Yeah, it's such a great car, and it's sad to see Audi Sport starting to pull the plug on that program. The most successful GT3 car ever, the most common GT3 car out there, had a one-make championship in China as well. So there's over 500 examples of R8 GT3s out there from day one. And yes, we're almost on the 5th iteration now, because we had the previous generation car, which had an Evo, where you then went to a brand new platform, which is now on its 2nd Evo, of course. But Audi have done such a strong job, and the car I've driven in the past, and naturally aspirated V10, is never a chore to drive, that's for sure.
And one always hopes that with good results for Audis, there might be a thought that, do you know what, maybe we should reconsider this GT world, because, you know, yes, it's an old car, but run well with the right people behind the wheel, it can still deliver good results, especially over the longer races as well, where you need to be good in the pits and be clever on strategy and have reliability as well.
Yeah, and I think it is just a focus, isn't it? As a multinational corporation as they are, they're focused on going canoe Formula One racing, and that seems to be preoccupied. But yeah, they've dominated GT racing for so many years. I think there could be a change of tact at some point in the future, hopefully.
So all the teams standing in the pit lane awaiting the last podium. And gradually, I think drivers have been encouraged to step forward. So we have had, by the look of it, another change, have we not, to the order? Because we were expecting Jamie Day and Kobe Powells for second. I think the penalty has been rescinded against number 10, because there they are. So after all of that, it is Boots and VDS that win. I can't tell you why, but look at the faces of Ezekiel Perez-Companc and of Alex Arca, and out come a rather sheepish Aurelien Panis and Cesar Gazo. Now, was the penalty given to the wrong car? I can't answer, but the net result is that Panis and Gazo get back their win in silver. That's what the delay was. And so Companc and Arca relegated to second, and Laurens Leclerc taking third, along with Ivan Klimenko. Trophies to the third place drivers for Santalok. Laurens Leclerc making up for that accident that he had yesterday in free practice. The second place trophies go to Ezekiel Perez-Companc, Alex Arca, who for, well, it feels like about half an hour were the winners, maybe not quite so long, but they were briefly the winners. And having won it, lost it, won it again, Aurelien Panis and Cesar Gazo come to the top step of the podium. So the team's trophy goes to Boots and VDS. Applause and relief in equal measure from the Belgian team. And the trophy's in the air. Cesar Gazo and Aurelien Panis eventually do win in silver.
It's like a school sports day, everyone's a winner.
It is, isn't it? So an excellent job well done for the Boutsen squad. And the champagne is there. Right, 2 weeks' time, we are looking forward to being by the seaside at Zandvoort for more drama from GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup. But a great weekend of racing at Brands Hatch has kicked off the season in style, and there's more to come in 2 weeks' time when World Challenge heads to Zandvoort.